bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of November. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, Britain's benefit system is facing a seismic shift as new figures reveal a record number of 500 migrants are signing on every single day. The total number of foreign nationals receiving handouts now stands at nearly 1.3 million.
Well, that news comes as the Home Secretary prepares to make a statement to Parliament, bringing in new changes, this time to curb legal migration.
So just a few miles down the road from that first stop, we now have what potentially could be the target vehicle and the man we want, the international cocaine smuggler.
And in a GB News exclusive, Ben Leo joins the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement team for a raid in Florida, where, in a spooky coincidence, as in Britain, nearly 500 migrants a day sign on to benefits.
Also, the Epstein file release. Yes, overnight, Donald Trump signs the bill to release all government files relating to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Meanwhile, pressure mounts on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor as today is the deadline for him to respond to the American Epstein inquiry. What will the former prince decide?
Meanwhile, SAS soldiers threaten the government with legal action over the new Troubles Bill. They don't buy Labour's claims that veterans will be protected.
And you've felt it, we've felt it. Yes, the whole of Britain feels the freeze this morning as the Met Office issues a thunder snow warning.
We're here in North Yorkshire, where it's a winter wonderland, but that amber alert for snow has been causing travel disruption and has forced many schools to close.
Wish there was a bit of snow like that where we are.
That looks absolutely lovely, doesn't it? I know lots of people are struggling this morning and, you know, obviously thoughts with you if you are sort of like freezing, you're struggling and you can't get out of your house on the drive or you skiddle through it, etc., etc. But it does look beautiful.
It does look absolutely pristine, picturesque, Christmas card-like.
Yeah, it really
reminds
does.
me that I should really start getting in some Christmas cards,
yes,
sending them out.
It's here before you know it. Now, we had 2 snowflakes fall on the balcony.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and that
what
was
were
it.
their names?
That was it. Well, exactly. Everyone made that joke, Tom. Very funny. One of them might have been called Tom, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But no, I mean, it was just gracefully in London. So if you are somewhere picturesque and gorgeous, we want to see your pictures, actually.
We do.
Please do send them in, because we do like a bit of festive fun this time of year.
Sitting around the table with us, of course, is Mark White. Mark, have you been...
Oh, here we go. Not another one of bringing in the Scot to talk about the winter weather.
Your name is literally White.
Listen, I can tell you that...
is it going to be a white Christmas?
Well, yes, of course it is. Up in North Yorkshire and other parts of northern Britain, including Scotland, they won't be stuck in their houses, slipping about all over the place, because they know how to handle snow.
Yeah.
They're fine. It's down here when you get those 2 snowflakes on your windowsill that your whole nation grinds to a halt.
And where you come from, Mark, they even tackle this bad weather in skirts. Don't you, Mark?
And bare feet.
And bare feet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right there.
Time-honoured tradition. Well,
Yes.
Mark...
As long as we have our porridge in the morning.
But we do have a
Let's
little
just perpetuate the stereotypes.
Oh, yeah, well, we do have a little exclusive for you, don't we, Mark?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because we are definitely going to have a white Christmas here on GB News, aren't we, Mark?
Well, I'll let you break that news.
Yes, because if you want to join us on Christmas morning for breakfast, you can tell that Mark is absolutely thrilled to be joining me to present the Christmas breakfast show for you. Look at that happy little smiling face there. Can you imagine that in a cute little Santa hat with sparkles on it? It's going to be so much fun.
Do you know what? You two.
Get a room.
You two can get a room. Mark,
She says...
Mark, swap seats just for a moment.
No, thanks.
Just for a moment.
No, there'll be enough of that come Christmas morning. I'm looking forward to having to put
It is going to be a white Christmas on GB News, but we're talking about a white November because that's exactly where we are now. So get in touch with your comments, gbnews.com/or say. Tell us what you're doing, tell us what you're up to, send your pictures in, and, oh, well, let's have a chat, shall we? Because you don't want to go out, do you? That's for sure. No. All of the brilliant stuff coming up in our show today after the news headlines.
That's enough of that. Time for the headlines. Westminster is on edge today as the COVID inquiry prepares to publish its long-awaited report into political decision-making during the pandemic. The findings will examine how key ministers and senior officials still in government handled the crisis, from the timing of the first lockdown in March 2020 to the delayed second one that autumn. It will assess whether enough attention was paid to the impact of restrictions on vulnerable groups and scrutinise the government's messaging, including stark public health adverts. More than 160 witnesses, including former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, have been giving evidence, with all 4 UK nations now set to come under the microscope. Well, that comes as the government is under fire over Britain's defence readiness after the sighting of a Russian spy ship off the coast of Scotland, and claims the UK's defences are still dangerously exposed. Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge blasted what he called Labour's glacial pace on strengthening security, warning that the Yantar's laser attack on RAF pilots marks a serious escalation. But the Defence Minister Al Kansk hit back, accusing the Conservatives of leaving Britain's armed forces decrepit. He said the Yantar will not go unchallenged, with the Navy and RAF tracking its every move, and warned Russia that any attempt to interfere with UK undersea infrastructure would be met, he says, with the firmest response.
The Yantar has once again been operating in and around the UK's EEZ for the second time this year. During this time, she was continuously monitored by Royal Navy frigate HMS Somerset and the RAF's P-8s. We will ensure that the Yantar is not able to conduct its mission unchallenged or untracked. But this has not been without difficulties.
In other news this hour, after one of the most shocking police abuse cases in history, David Carrick has been jailed for life again, this time with a 30-year minimum term for molesting a 12-year-old girl and raping a former partner. The ex-armed Met police officer, already serving dozens of life sentences for 71 previous sex offences, was convicted of 5 indecent assaults on a child in the late 1980s and rape and coercive control against a woman he terrorised for years. Jurors saw a handwritten confession signed Dave and heard how his later victim said he ruined her life. Prosecutors called him a manipulative predator who hid behind his warrant card. Detectives say these new convictions finally give his victims a voice, but warn that if his confession had been acted on back in the 1990s, many more women could have been protected. Reports suggest that President Trump has approved a secret 28-point peace proposal drawn up with Russia, but a plan that Ukraine wasn't involved in. American military officials are now heading to Kyiv to restart talks, as leaks claim the proposal would force Ukraine to give up the entire Donbass, cap its long-range weapons, and even limit the size of its military. Kyiv says those demands would be outright capitulation. Well, the US State Department won't comment, and the Secretary of State hasn't addressed the reports directly, though he has said both sides need realistic ideas if the talks are ever going to move forward. Meanwhile, President Trump says he has signed new legislation ordering the US Justice Department to release its files from the criminal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law, officials now have 30 days to publish the documents. But it's unclear just how many will actually see the light of day. The Justice Department can still withhold anything that risks an active investigation. And that matters because just last week, the president announced a new federal probe into Epstein's links to his Democratic opponents, a move critics say could be used to keep key material under wraps. New figures show nearly 500 migrants every day are signing up for universal credit, with 1.3 million foreign nationals now claiming the benefit, making it the highest on record. It comes as the Home Secretary is preparing to unveil sweeping changes to curb legal migration. It will make a migrant's right to settle here in the UK dependent not on claiming benefits, paying tax, speaking strong English and having a clean record. Shabana Mahmood is expected to confirm plans to double the wait for indefinite leave to remain from 5 to 10 years. And later, she'll also consider a big increase in cash incentives for voluntary returns, rising above the current £3,000 on offer, saying it could prove value for money. Turning back to international news, an emergency crews in Czech Republic are dealing with a major rail incident after 2 passenger trains collided this morning. Authorities there say 57 people were injured, several now in a serious condition. All passengers have been evacuated from the wreckage, and transport officials say early indications suggest one train may have passed a stop signal, though the investigation is ongoing. And weather, the UK has shivered through its coldest night so far of the autumn, with temperatures sinking well below freezing across all 4 nations, down to -6 in Cumbria, -5 in Wales meanwhile. Yellow warnings for snow and ice stretch across much of the country, and there's an amber alert for North Yorkshire, where up to 25 centimetres of snow could fall on higher ground. Forecasters say some could even see thunder snow later, which is a rare winter thunderstorm with heavy and fast-falling snow. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, it's over to Tom and Dawn.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 minutes past midday. Now, Britain has officially become a benefit nation, as record numbers of migrants are claiming universal credit payments.
Last month, 472 migrants a day began claiming universal credit, while the overall number of foreign nationals receiving it rose to nearly 1.3 million, an increase of 6.7% in a year.
Well, the news comes as the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, prepares to overhaul the not just illegal migration situation in this country with her reforms to the asylum system, but also today we're expecting her to speak about the legal migration system in this country, with legal migrants, of course, claiming quite so many benefits.
OK, joining us now in the studio is GB News Home Security Editor, the wonderful Mark White. Mark, I mean, these are scary numbers. There are a lot of people hearing these numbers today and going, well, hold on a minute, this just doesn't sound right, especially in a week where we've been having this big debate about removing freedom passes from pensioners.
Yeah, absolutely, and it undermines the claims that we've heard from so many people, advocates of actually more migration to the UK over the year, who say that migrants are a net contributor to the UK, but actually as more and more are claiming various benefits, they absolutely are not. And that's why you've got, I think, Shabana Mahmood, who's going to be up in the Commons in the next hour or so, giving her keynote statement on the changes that they're going to bring about to the system of legal migration. That will include an emphasis on migrants not claiming any benefits if they want an avenue to permanent residency here in the UK. But it builds on effectively what we saw under the Conservatives, I'm told. You know, they brought in tougher restrictions towards the end of their time in office to try to curb the absolutely huge numbers of net migration of migrants coming here legally.
And those reforms absolutely have, no doubt, cut the number of people coming here from the peak in 2022, which I think was more than 1 million coming in. If we're, though, looking at those numbers, those incredibly high net migration figures that we saw in 2022 and 2023, the two biggest years on record, we have something called indefinite leave to remain in this country, where if you've been in the country for 5 years, you can then get access to all sorts of benefits. So we've sort of got this big ticking time bomb of potentially millions of people who in the coming year or two will be able to start claiming benefits if indefinite leave to remain is not reformed. Do you suspect that will form part of the Home Secretary's statement today?
I think it will. I think that she needs, obviously, to address what is a potentially growing situation. And I think although the vast majority of legal migrants who are coming across to the country are coming across to work, to find employment, you've got a situation, particularly when it affects asylum seekers, that they are often going onto the benefit system because you've got family members that come across that are not necessarily working, but obviously are potentially able to claim various benefits being part of a family group. And of course, if they are an adult and they're not working, then potentially they are able to claim various benefits as well. So there's some real issues around that. But I think to a large part, it will be building on what the Conservatives introduced. Remember that Rishi Sunak introduced changes that included stopping the vast majority of students from being able to take family members across with them. Also care workers, stopping them bringing their families, increasing the salary thresholds, and all that had actually quite a dramatic effect in the numbers. We saw the last set of migration figures going down to about 430,000. That's actually been reduced further because the Office for National Statistics earlier this week revised their methodology for the way in which they measure net migration. It's come down to 345,000 over that 2024 period. Now, that is still a lot. I mean, 345,000 is more than the population of Newcastle. Actually, it's more akin to Leicester at a 368,000 population. So the population of a medium-sized city still coming to the UK every year is very significant, and it absolutely has an effect on this country.
Part of that is that we had just this week the ONS tell us that instead of 77,000 Brits leaving in 2024, it was 250,000 Brits leaving in 2024. So that net figure of about a third of a million actually is perhaps slightly obscured by simply the number of Brits that are leaving the country.
Yeah, and the number of Brits leaving has been offset a little by the number of Brits returning. but the overall net emigration out of the country by British nationals was about 115,000 who left, rather, above those who came in. So that is a worry as well, of course, in terms of Brits who are deciding for whatever reason that they want to leave the country, but they're being replaced, obviously, by non-Indigenous individuals who are coming into the UK, and as I say, all of the potential challenges that brings with it.
Well, we will be bringing you Shabana Mahmood's speech as and when we get it, but from what we understand, the indefinite leave to remain will be given a new system of earned settlement, where the rights to indefinite leave to remain will depend on their ability to support themselves, as we already discussed, without claiming benefits, paying national insurance, and having a clean criminal record. And interestingly, going back to what you were saying, Tom, the 1.6 migrants who came to Britain since 2020, part of the Boris wave that we all remember, were encouraged to come here, they would be eligible to seek that indefinite leave to remain and benefits from January coming up.
Yeah, because the 2021 number was that first huge number.
But this is going to be applied retrospectively now, so they will have to now wait the extra 5 years before they can claim the benefits
that's going to be the big political debate, because, of course, the Reform Party put forward their policy on indefinite leave to remain. They want to abolish the status, even for those who have it. It looks like retrospective is going to be a difficult word to apply in this context. Does retrospective mean that this government is going to take indefinite leave to remain status away from those who already have it? I doubt it.
No.
But could it mean that those who were expecting to get it on the 1st of January, in just 2 months' time, no longer get that status? Quite possibly.
We'll have to wait another...
Yes, I mean, it absolutely depends when it's backdated to. I mean, they might feel that they've no choice but to honour what has already been agreed in terms of those migrants coming here and expecting a date for that earned settlement. But as you say, it, going forward is going to mean a longer wait. But we don't have to wait too much longer, I don't think, for Shabana Mahmood. There's a couple of urgent questions that are taking place in Parliament, first of all, and then she's going to speak, and she will be, I'm sure, going into this in a lot more detail. But it's something that people absolutely really want to hear about, because, of course, we focus on the most visible manifestation of illegal migration. That's the small boats coming across the English Channel, and we know about visa overstayers, foreign national offence. It absolutely does pale. And, of course, the government would argue, yes, but they're coming to do a job, and, they're important
contributors. But if they're here for 5 years and then start claiming benefits, that's
this is it.
Mark White, thanks indeed for coming in and talking us through. We'll, of course, be with you throughout the programme.
Yeah, talking of white, we have more white stuff. Yes, snow has blanketed parts of the UK as a cold snap brings freezing conditions to the country.
Yes, the Met Office has multiple yellow warnings for snow and ice in force today, and a more severe amber warning kicking in tomorrow.
Dozens of schools are closed in northern parts of Scotland, and GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley joins us now live from the frozen wastes. Anna.
Good afternoon. Yes, you join us in the winter wonderland here in Flixton in North Yorkshire, where that amber weather alert is in place until 9 o'clock this evening. It kicked in at 3 o'clock this morning, that amber alert for snow. And you can certainly see how it's blanketed the area. You can see the sheep over there, they're keeping warm and well insulated, but it's cold for a lot of us here. Temperatures in the minuses and dropping to -11 tonight in areas in Scotland. Now, you can see as well the roads here, they have been impassable earlier on. We got stuck in some of the snow as well with these icy conditions. The gritters have been out and about, but as the snow is still falling, it has been dicey in some areas. Some roads have been closed. People are taking it easy, and people really did come together this morning. We saw some of the best of British, the community, working together to push cars up the hill. The farmers were getting involved as well, brought the tractors out, and they attached them to bring the lorries up the hill as well. So lots of people coming together in these tough conditions, and lots of people enjoying it as well. There's over 40 schools that are closed closed across the region, but we've seen lots of children out with their sleds, enjoying this snow and playing in it, not the sun. We've not got that, but that amber alert remains in place until 9 o'clock this evening.
I suppose a lot of people will be thinking, well, what is actually better? What is nicer at a time of year like this? A bit of sunshine, a bit of snow? I think I'm in the snow camp.
It does look lovely.
Yeah.
It does look lovely. Thank you very much, Anna. And Jeff says, what has poor Anna done at GB News? She's freezing in the snow and wind. I hope she's been provided with some lovely hot soup. Yes, we do. We do provide them with hot soup and even a cup of tea occasionally if we're feeling generous.
The occasional cup of tea. Just not here in the studio. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yeah, now, transgender people could be banned from single-sex spaces due to their looks. Under new guidance, hospital wards, gyms and leisure centres will be able to question women based on how they look, their behaviour or concerns raised by others. But after the break...
Yes, soldiers threaten the government with legal action over the new Troubles Bill. They don't buy Labour's claims that veterans will be protected.
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. We'll see you very soon.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Just went for an insurance check. You know, in our business, you have to have a check before you do any new program, so you don't drop down dead on the program. And it was all very relaxed, as always, chatting with the doctor and all that. And then he phoned me up the next day and said, well, it's slightly worrying. Your PSA is a bit high. I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, it measures the levels of the potential antigens for prostate cancer that you've got. He said, you'll have to go to a specialist. I went to the specialist and he said, yes, you have got very early stages of the indications of prostate cancer. And of course, it felt like my life had collapsed immediately. You know, I was writing the will, I was doing everything. Well, the reality is he was quite cheery about it. He said, look, you're likely to die with this. You're not going to die of it, provided that we keep an eye on it all the time, make sure it doesn't flare up. And so ever since then, this, what I thought was going to be this terrible thing 12 years ago, all it means is that every 4 or 6 months, I have to get a check. That's all. But the good news is, and I've been listening to you for the last 20 minutes thinking, oh my God, what a terrible world we're living in. Everything's wrong. I have a great Christmas message for you. Hold on to your seats. If you want to have a check for prostate cancer, you no longer have to have a finger up your bum. Yes! Isn't that the best thing you've heard all day?
Well, that is, but it's funny that we laugh about it, and so we should really, but that is the big obstacle, isn't it? It's the one thing that puts people off.
Yeah, well, it's gone. It's floated away. Those fingers have floated up to the heavens. All you need to do now is have one of those tiny little blood tests, you know, pinprick in your arm, and they go away and check it and make sure you're all right.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
OK, good afternoon, Britain. You said you were going to do this, but it is 26 minutes past midday. Honestly, it's going to be a long show.
Your name's written there, Dawn.
A long show.
Well, President Trump has signed a bill ordering the release of all files related to the late paedophile financier, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, indeed. The president announced the move on Truth Social while attacking Democrats and claiming the disclosures would hurt his opponents more than Republicans.
Well, the sealed files are to be made public within 30 days after the bill passed both the House and the Senate almost unanimously.
Joining us now is US political journalist Laurie Laird. Laurie, it feels like we have been talking about this for a long time. Why now, and what difference does it make?
Yeah, we'll get used to it, Don, because I think we'll be talking about it for a long time to come. So we don't know exactly when we'll see these files. We don't know how much we'll see. There is an investigation that's ongoing. Whether the Department of Justice, which will be in charge of releasing the files, will use that as an excuse to redact information is an open question, but that's a fear that many people have. Why now? That was a roundabout way of getting to your question. I think that the pressure within the Republican Party on Donald Trump and his administration had simply become far too strong. This was one area in which Trump was sort of breaking from his MAGA base. The MAGA base really wants to see all the information possible about this. I don't think Trump could withstand the pressure anymore. And you can see when he's speaking, Trump loves speaking to reporters, but you could see that when he was questioned about this, he was losing his temper a little bit, becoming quite grumpy, berating reporters who dared to bring this up. We've had a lot of White House officials say, why are you concentrating on this? Why aren't you writing about tax cuts? So you could see the pressure was just too much.
It is strange because this has been such a totem for the MAGA movement and particularly the sort of more online aspects of Trump's support base. And it was a fracture within that sort of Trump world where people that were in office were saying, well, this isn't that important, but people sort of on the internet were saying, well, no, this is about cover-up, this is about government censorship. But it's hard to actually define what the Epstein files actually are. There isn't one folder sitting somewhere in the executive office of the president saying Epstein files. I mean, these are going to be perhaps hundreds of thousands of disparate documents, email chains, everything else that is just vaguely related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Tom, that's such a good point, because we talk about these Epstein files as if it's some kind of unit wrapped up in a bow waiting to be presented to the public. And as you say, that's clearly not the case. This is electronic communication. This is a whole bunch of information. And Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, sort of fouled this up a couple of months ago. You remember she said, yes, I have a list of Epstein clients on my desk waiting to be approved. And then a couple of days later, she said, well, list, what list? So it's not clear what documentary evidence is out there and what it might say. But you mentioned a fracture in the MAGA movement. I'm going to query that. And I agree with you on many, many things. But it doesn't feel like there's a fracture on this issue. It feels like MAGA is pretty united in wanting to see more information about this. Not only is MAGA united, only one congressperson or senator voted against releasing these files. When's the last time you saw Democrats and Republicans agreeing on anything? So going back to the pressure had become so intense. It's interesting, though. I think that where Trump may be making a mistake here is blaming so he's changed his tune a little bit. And I think this has become a bit of an own goal because the response from the administration has been so inconsistent. But the latest iteration of this is a Democratic hoax. The Democrats were involved in this. I don't think anyone who wants to see information cares what party the people who were involved in Epstein, and I think to try and politicize
well, we've only got
this.
30 days or so to wait. Laurie Laird, thanks indeed for joining us. US political journalist, of course. Really interesting stuff.
OK, now moving on. Veterans are up in arms with SAS representatives warning that Labour's new Troubles Bill could drag elderly former soldiers back into court.
They say the plan strips away vital safeguards and opens the door to endless legal battles. And now they're gearing up for a full-scale fight.
We're joined now by Shadow Defence Minister Mark Francois MP. Mark, what do you make of this today, the fact that they are going to challenge the bill?
Well, it's extraordinary. You might say who sues wins. So this is not isolated. So for context, about a week ago, 8 very senior retired generals and 1 retired Air Chief Marshal wrote an open letter to the Times criticising Labour's legacy proposals and the bill, which they describe, these are their words, not mine, as a direct threat to national security, because they argued in the letter that if these proposals went through, far fewer people would join the military and more would leave it. You win. So, and in my 24 years as an MP, I can never remember a bunch of retired generals doing anything quite like that. So that in itself was unprecedented. Now, the SAS, because it's the special forces who are at the sharp end of this legal lawfare, which is what it is, their regimental association have sent a pre-action letter, a warning of potential legal action to the government, saying if you continue with this bill, we will sue you. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I thought generally the SAS protect the government of the day. They don't go around suing it. So it's a very, very extraordinary situation where these retired special forces soldiers are so angry, and having spoken to them, believe you me, angry doesn't really cover it. They're furious that for political reasons, to appease Sinn Féin and their old comrades in the IRA, this government, led by a bunch of human rights lawyers, would throw them to the wolves because they've done a sordid backstairs deal with the Irish government in Dublin. Other than that, though, I have no firm feelings on the matter.
And Mark, this is particularly galling, isn't it? Seeing as many terrorists were long ago handed comfort letters guaranteeing immunity from prosecution. Meanwhile, we have veterans in their 70s who now, if this goes ahead, this legislation, could still be dragged into court for simply doing their jobs.
Correct. And what is going on here is that Sinn Féin and their old mates in the IRA are trying to change history. This is part of an ongoing campaign, and they want to change the narrative of the Troubles, and they want to argue that the British Army, who was sent there to play piggy in the middle between two warring communities, two sets of terrorists, the IRA on one side and the so-called loyalist terrorists on the other. And by the way, 90% of all the people killed in the Troubles, whether Catholic or Protestant, were killed by the terrorists. And they want to try and change history whereby the British Army was some sort of army of occupation and the terrorists were victims or even freedom fighters. That is what all of this is ultimately about. And the maddening thing is that the government, a bit like Lenin's wise fools, Lenin talked about of seemingly very bright people who you can manipulate to do your bidding for you, and Hilary Benn is a wise fool, are aiding and abetting Sinn Féin to pursue our veterans' very often for political ends. And that's why the SAS, who can see this very clearly for what it is, who fought these people for decades, have gone pretty tonto in pub English and are now threatening to sue. So these are extraordinary circumstances. We debated all this in the Commons at length on Tuesday. I summed up for the opposition. For the avoidance of doubt, we've been very clear. We stand with the veterans. And if we ever get the chance, we will repeal what Labour are trying to do, because it's wicked.
Well, Mark, I know you've been campaigning so fervently on this matter for actually years now. But Mark Francois, thanks indeed for talking us through what is a remarkable twist and turn in this story.
OK, a government spokesperson has said, after the false promises of the last government, we are putting in place 6 real workable protections for veterans that the failed Legacy Act never did. We will not allow the process, like so many times before, become the punishment for our veterans. Those robust safeguards will ensure the rights of those who serve their nation so honourably are protected, whilst providing victims with a human rights compliant, fair and transparent system to seek answers.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GBNews, and there's plenty more to come.
Yeah, campaigners have accused police chiefs of treating prostitution as a normal job after telling officers they should call prostitutes sex workers or even sexual entrepreneurs. All of that and much more after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. 12:35, the top story. Well, the COVID inquiry delivers its long-awaited verdict this afternoon, examining lockdown timing, government messaging and whether vulnerable groups were protected. More than 160 witnesses, including Boris Johnson, have given evidence. Former Met officer David Carrick has been jailed for life again, this time with a 30-year minimum for abusing a 12-year-old girl and raping a partner. Already serving dozens of life sentences for 71 previous offences, he's been branded a manipulative predator. Detectives say acting on his 1990 confession could have protected many more women. US military officials are holding talks in Ukraine amid reports of a proposal for Kyiv to give up territory and limit its military in exchange for security guarantees. Washington hasn't confirmed any plan, and Kyiv says any concessions would be unacceptable. Meanwhile, President Trump says he signed a bill ordering the release of Justice Department documents from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Officials now have 30 days, though a new federal probe Trump launched last week could limit what's made public. Here, almost half of England's universities could be in deficit by next summer, the regulator warns. Fewer high-fee Chinese postgrads and a proposed tax on international income are putting budgets under pressure. And heavy snow has forced hundreds of schools to shut across England after England, Wales and Northern Ireland had their coldest night of autumn. Amber warnings remain for some, with up to 25 centimetres of snow and even so-called thunder snow possible. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with the 1 o'clock news.
Thanks very much. Lots more still to come.
Yeah, shocking new research reveals parents are giving their children an average of 6 mental health days off schools a year. Is it time parents did growing up, though?
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is a cold day for all of us today with Arctic winds across the country, bright skies for most, but for some further wintry scenes. We've seen snow affecting parts of northeast England, northern Scotland and some locations in Pembrokeshire even. And we'll continue to see showers move in during the rest of Thursday across parts of Northern Ireland, northern Scotland, eastern Scotland into northeast and eastern England, as well as the southwest. Those showers around coasts falling as rain and sleet, but inland and over higher ground, further snow to come. The showers tending to ease off later. In between, some bright skies, some decent sunshine, although continuing to feel cold with that Arctic wind. And overnight, the main issue will be icy patches because we'll have further showers coming in to northern Scotland, for example, giving some slippery surfaces and further snow accumulations over hills. Those showers easing off a little for Northern Ireland, but still some around to cause some icy issues first thing Friday. Likewise for West Wales into Cornwall, but for much of the rest of Wales and the southwest of England, as well as a broad central part of the UK, it's simply a clear and in places frosty night, although there'll be an increase in cloud cover across the east of England, mitigating against hard frost here. But those showers will continue across parts of eastern England, and again, likewise here, we're going to see some icy patches first thing Friday. So yeah, slippery surfaces first thing, frosty, temperatures below -10 Celsius, where we've got snow cover across parts of Highland Scotland. And that cold feel continues through the day, but one difference is that the showers will have mostly gone. Plenty of sunshine out and about. Some rain moving into the northwest of Scotland, marking a change to milder and wetter for the weekend.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A5 is closed in both directions between Carrog and Glyndifudwy due to an incident. Motorists should expect diversions. In Bedfordshire, the M1 northbound exit slip at junction 13 has a broken down vehicle, closing one of 2 lanes. Drivers are advised to exercise caution as normal traffic conditions are expected later today. And on the trains, major disruption continues with Avanti West Coast services at Glasgow Central and between Lancaster and Oxenholme Lake District. Additionally, Northern reports buses replacing trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 20 to 1.
It is indeed, yeah. MPs are calling for the government to recognise emergency workers whose careers were cut short by life-changing injuries on duty.
Yes, the Liberal Democrat MP, Tom Morrison, is calling on the Cabinet Office to create a dedicated Injury in Service Award, following formally honouring the extraordinary sacrifice of those who risked everything to protect the public.
Yeah, so let's cross over live to Westminster now, where our national reporter Jack Carlson has the story for us. Jack, what's going on?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, we hear week in, week out, don't we? We hear week in, week out, don't we? Just how emergency service workers put their life on the line, and in doing that, many of them sustain injuries. All around us here, you can see the support from some of those emergency workers who have suffered injuries during their service. It's all part of this push from the Lib Dems and Liberal Democrat MP Tom Morrison, who is having this debate in Parliament today, calling for that Injury in Service Award to give them proper recognition. Tom Morrison and somebody who was injured in service, Jane Notley, joined us now. Tom, let's start with you. Why is this debate so important today?
It's incredibly important because at the moment there are over 16,000 former police officers who are injured in the line of duty, and currently there is no recognition for them whatsoever. And this debate today, we're hoping to change that, finally give them that medal that they deserve. They put our communities first, it's time to put them first.
I think a lot of people will think that there maybe already was something like this, that those people who serve in the emergency services would have at some point in their service be recognised.
Yeah, and I was one of those people until Jane came to my surgery and told me about what she'd been through and how she felt because there was no recognition for her. That's what we need to change. We need to build awareness about this as well, but we need the government to start acting.
And this is something which has received cross-party support. I mean, how huge is that for the campaign, that all parties, are getting behind your campaign here?
This is massive. This is a cross-party campaign. We've even got Jeremy Corbyn on one side and Nigel Farage on the other backing his campaign. There is no reason not to do this. All the parties want it. All the MPs want it. It's time to act.
And Jane, tell us a little bit about your service. You're in the police.
Yes, I was in Greater Manchester Police, and I started in 1979. And in 1989, I was on patrol in a full liveried car, so it had police down the side, and I was hit by a stolen car, trying to get away, reversed into me 4 times, pushing me through the side of the stationary car, and as a result, my legs were quite badly crushed. I then wanted to carry on in my career because it was my life. Like a lot of people here, they didn't just join for a year, they joined for a career. And I was told shortly afterwards, after having my legs reconstructed and rebuilt, I was told that was it. I was no use and I would be retiring at Christmas. And I was told there was no appeal, and that was it. That was final. Like, again, so many of the people here have had exactly the same thing. As a result, I'm now on my pink sticks, which seem to be quite famous now. I've used those ever since I was injured in 89. And I've had my right knee rebuilt again last year, and I'm now waiting for back surgery.
So this service, Injury in Service Award, we can see the badge on your coat, 999, injured and forgotten. Do you feel like you have been forgotten over the years?
Very much so, because when you leave the force, you are not given any right to appeal, you're not given a right to discuss it, you're no use to us, you're a financial burden, that's it, you're out. And we've got cases here where people have actually been taken to the lockers and have to empty the lockers and hand a warrant card back when they've done 25 years service, but are just too short to get that long service medal. We've also got a lot of people here, in fact most of the people here, like myself, had post-traumatic stress. I ended up having a nervous breakdown as a result. And that stays with you. You wake up having nightmares about what happened 20 years down the line. It's nothing that goes. The pain stays with you. As you can see, people in wheelchairs. One of my colleagues in Manchester got shot in the face. He lost an eye. He lost part of his head. He's got nothing at all to show what he gave up. The torment that he's put through for the rest of his life And we just hope with these people coming out and with this debate in Parliament that we should get some recognition of what we've given up.
Jane and Tom, thank you so much for joining us, and of course, hopefully, as you heard there, the amazing stories of what these emergency services have gone through to put their life on the line to protect us, to do their job in the emergency services. Of course, the hope is that with this debate in Parliament, that injury and service award can be achieved.
Thank you very much, Jack. That's our national reporter Jack Carson there for us with a very important story. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show,
including pressure mounts on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the public figure formerly known as Prince, as today is the deadline for the American Epstein inquiry response. So what will the former Prince decide?
But if you are in search of some holiday sun and if you're snowed in, it sounds like a very good idea, isn't it? Here is the forecast for some of those top European holiday destinations for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, some drier weather for Portugal over the next few days. Rain will affect parts of the Canaries, in particular Tenerife through Friday. Highs of 19 degrees with overcast skies. Lisbon looking nice and dry, just 10 degrees though, so still fairly chilly. Now the remnants of Storm Claudia moving into the Mediterranean, bringing some persistent wet weather through Friday and into the weekend as well. But if we look to Tenerife, it is looking much drier and brighter by Monday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 to 1. Now, lots of you have been getting in touch, including Steve, who's asked, Tom, where's your whiteboard? That's a Friday thing.
That will be coming up tomorrow, but lots of you have been getting in touch about the SAS stories and the fact they're threatening legal action over that Troubles bill that's currently going through. And Carl sums up what a lot of you are saying, says, politicians have the brass neck to stand at the cenotaph with solemn faces. They are nothing but hypocrites. Lots of you agreeing with those messages, so do keep them coming in.
Absolutely, and there is a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News for free. Take a look.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Good afternoon, Britain. Yes, it is now 8 minutes to 1, and it's deadline day for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor after the former Duke was invited by the US Congress to answer questions about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, the committee investigating Epstein's crime said members want to speak to Andrew about the allegations made against him.
But how likely is it that the former Duke will accept this invitation? Let's speak to Cameron Walker, our royal reporter. Cameron.
In one word, unlikely.
Yes.
That's basically what I would suggest. Yeah, well done, move on. No, yes, so it's a formal request for a transcribed interview. It sounds very serious. They basically want to see what Andrew Mountbatten Windsor knows about the late convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who, of course, was found dead in his jail cell in Manhattan in 2019. The coroner ruled a suicide. Is an extradition possible if he does refuse or doesn't respond? Well, unlikely again, because he's not a US citizen, he's a British citizen. He's not been formally charged with a US crime. He's not being investigated for a US crime. Clearly, as we all know, he denies all the allegations against him. So in terms of the extradition treaty between the United Kingdom and the United States, they don't have any power. So Andrew probably is just going to stay in Royal Lodge until he's formally kicked out of there, and then we'll go and live on the Sandringham estate, as King Charles has expressed his wish that that will happen.
So the long and short of this is that this is a request from the US Congress. This isn't a subpoena. This isn't a demand. This doesn't have legal backing.
Exactly. It's a ceremonial request at best, is how I would describe it. I think the US lawmakers will probably shout about it and be annoyed that he isn't going to give evidence. I mean, he could surprise us this afternoon, but I severely doubt it, because clearly it would embarrass the royal family further.
OK, well, Cameron Walker, thanks indeed for joining us with that update. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there is lots more still to come on today's programme, including we're expecting to hear from the Home Secretary with her latest announcement on legal migration. This is very important with regard to benefits claimants and indeed indefinite leave to remain. Do stick around for that, but first, it's the weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is a cold day for all of us today, with Arctic winds across the country, bright skies for most, but for some, further wintry scenes. We've seen snow affecting parts of northeast England, northern Scotland and some locations in Pembrokeshire even. And we'll continue to see showers move in during the rest of Thursday across parts of Northern Ireland, northern Scotland, eastern Scotland into northeast and eastern England, as well as the southwest. Those showers around coasts falling as rain and sleet, but inland and over higher ground, further snow to come. The showers tending to ease off later. In between, some bright skies, some decent sunshine, although continuing to feel cold with that Arctic wind. And overnight, the main issue will be icy patches because we'll have further showers coming in to northern Scotland, for example, giving some slippery surfaces and further snow accumulations over hills. Those showers easing off a little for Northern Ireland, but still some around to cause some icy issues first thing Friday. Likewise for West Wales into Cornwall, but for much of the rest of Wales and the southwest of England, as well as a broad central part of the UK, it's simply a clear and in places frosty night, although there'll be an increase in cloud cover across the east of England, mitigating against hard frost here. But those showers will continue across parts of eastern England, and again, likewise here, we're going to see some icy patches first thing Friday. So yeah, slippery surfaces first thing, frosty, temperatures below -10 Celsius, where we've got snow cover across parts of Highland Scotland. And that cold feel continues through the day, but the one difference is that the showers will have mostly gone. Plenty of sunshine out and about. Some rain moving into the northwest of Scotland, marking a change to milder and wetter for the weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
First of all, are you coffee or tea?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both, yeah.
If you're having tea, is it herbal tea or is it
No,
normal
tea.
tea? I say normal tea.
Real tea.
Real tea. And is it milk or no milk?
Obviously milk.
Obviously milk. Final question before I read the piece. Milk in first or last?
Second.
Yeah, second.
Afterwards, if you've got a bag, but obviously if you're brewing it yourself, then you want to actually just check that it's brewed
See, I'm
properly
from Wrexham. We just put the milk in, tea bag in the mug.
What?
pour it in, and that's it. What's wrong with that?
And at this point, we stop talking.
It doesn't
brew properly.
No. Well, look, why doesn't it brew properly?
Because it stops the brewing.
You know exactly the right colour to bring it out, and you put it's a builder's tea.
What my dad
you see.
says.
Well, anyway, the average tea drinker has 62,000 cuppers in a lifetime, costing £6,222. I'd argue that isn't correct, because it's £4 for just a cappuccino, isn't it? Certainly in London now, at least £4. Most of the money is spent on milk, averaging 6 pence a cup. Again, tea bags cost around 4 pence each, and electricity to boil the kettle comes to 2 pence per day. And one of the top tips is only put the amount of hot water that you need to boil in, because that saves you money on your electricity.
62,000 cups in a lifetime. They've not met my mother.
Well, she's 162.
Honestly, it's every opportunity. It's
Is it? I think that's nice.
Exactly.
If I'm left to my own devices, I'd have a good 3 cups a day.
Yeah.
Of tea.
Per hour?
In the morning, I'd have maybe 5 cups of coffee.
Do you get jittery?
Yes.
Do you? See, I know. I'm
What
at
about
the
you?
point. No, never. I'm trying to do my 1 meal a day OMAD.
Yeah.
So I have coffees all the time, you know, and I don't get jittery. I don't think.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of November. Here's Tom Harwood and I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, Britain's benefit system is facing a seismic shift as new figures reveal a record number of 500 migrants are signing up onto benefits every single day. The total number of foreign nationals receiving handouts now stands at nearly 1.3 million.
Well, later this afternoon, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, will be outlining details of a new, tougher approach to legal migration that will mean those migrants having to wait much longer before they get settled status.
So just a few miles down the road from that first stop, we now have what potentially could be the target vehicle and the man we want, the international cocaine smuggler.
And as an illustration how the Americans deal with this problem, GB News exclusive Ben Leo joins the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement team for a raid in Florida.
And Sir Keir Starmer has refused to rule out freezing income tax thresholds in the budget next week. That's a move that would drag millions more into higher tax brackets and break the promise of the Chancellor in her last budget.
And meanwhile, transgender people could be banned from single-sex spaces due to their looks. Under new guidance, hospital wards, gyms and leisure centres will be able to question women based on how they look, their behaviour or concerns raised by others.
And you felt it, we felt it. Yes, the whole of Britain feels the freeze this morning as the Met Office issues a thunder snow warning.
The snow is falling here in North Yorkshire and it's a picture postcard scene across the moors. But this weather is causing severe disruption on the roads and has caused schools to close.
Anna looked really cute standing in that field. She looked like a little munchkin and a little hood up and everything, and it did look very Christmas. It looked like a Christmas
It looked
card.
absolutely charming, and I'm sure that for half an hour or so, going out to frolic in the snow must be absolutely delightful. Whether I'd want to be out there for the entire day...
Oh, come on, who doesn't like a frolic in the snow, Tom?
I mean, it's a time limited. It's time and a place.
Well, indeed, but it does look lovely. And obviously, let us know what you're doing today as well. And if you're having pictures, having fun in the snow, maybe the kids are off school. I know lots of areas they are, and the kids are out enjoying... Kids love snow, come on.
Well, because snow's brilliant, as long as you get to go inside to a warm house at the end of the snow and have some rice pudding.
You're getting old. Rice pudding.
Rice pudding, yeah. If I went to sort of toboggan down a hill in the snow, I'd go back home and my mum will have made the best rice pudding with a sort of with a crispy top on the top of it.
Quite
and
nice.
yeah,
Did you have treacle in it? Do you have syrup?
No, I didn't.
No,
but you had custard with it.
Oh. Hold on, custard and rice pudding?
Yeah, you can do custard and rice pudding.
That's a bit weird.
Is it?
Not that your mum's weird, your mum is very lovely, I know that, but, I mean, we had tomato soup.
Did you? Tomato soup? I mean, yeah, as long as it's hot, I suppose it's fine. I'm interested in these Met weather warnings, because they've got an amber, they've got a potential amber warning tonight, but at the moment it's a yellow warning. Does that mean it's a yellow snow warning?
Don't go there. Don't
because
go
I think there should always be a warning about yellow snow.
No. We should... Shall we move on? In any case, if you'd like to talk about snow, the white kind, gbnews.com/you'll say. Indeed, talk about anything you want to talk about, to be honest with you. We are here for you. All of that coming up, though, after the news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom just after 1 o'clock. The top story this lunchtime. New figures show nearly 500 migrants every day are signing up for universal credit, with 1.3 million foreign nationals now claiming the benefit, making it the highest on record. It comes as the Home Secretary is preparing to unveil sweeping changes to curb legal migration. It will make migrants' rights to settle in the UK dependent on not claiming benefits, paying tax, speaking strong English and having a clean record. Shabana Mahmood is expected to confirm plans to double the wait for indefinite leave to remain from 5 to now 10 years. She's also considering a big increase in cash incentives for voluntary returns, rising above the current £3,000 on offer, saying it could prove value for money. Well, do stay with us here this lunchtime for that live announcement from the Commons later. The government's under fire, meanwhile, over Britain's defence readiness after the sighting of a Russian spy ship off the coast of Scotland, and claims that the UK's defences are still dangerously exposed. Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge blasted what he called Labour's glacial pace on strengthening security, warning the Yantar's laser attack on RAF pilots marks a serious escalation. But Defence Minister Al Khan's hit back, accusing the Conservatives of leaving Britain's armed forces decrepit. He said the Yantar will not go unchallenged, with the Navy and the RAF tracking its every move. And he also warned Russia that any attempt to interfere with the UK's undersea infrastructure would be met with the firmest response.
The Yantar has once again been operating in and around the UK's EEZ for the second time this year. During this time, she was continuously monitored by Royal Navy frigate HMS Somerset and the RAF's P8s. We will ensure that the Yantar is not able to conduct its mission unchallenged or untracked. But this has not been without difficulties.
Westminster is on edge as the COVID inquiry prepares to publish its long-awaited report into political decision-making during the pandemic. The findings will examine how key ministers and some senior officials still in government handled the crisis, from the timing of the first lockdown in March 2020 to the delayed second one that same autumn. It will assess whether enough attention was paid on the impact of restrictions on vulnerable groups and also scrutinise the government's messaging, including stark public health adverts. More than 160 witnesses, including former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, have given evidence to the inquiry, with all 4 UK nations now under the microscope. After one of the most shocking police abuse cases in UK history, David Carrick has again been jailed for life, this time with a 30-year minimum term for molesting a 12-year-old girl and raping a former partner. The ex-armed Met Police officer, already serving dozens of life sentences, was convicted of 5 indecent assaults on a child in the late 1980s and rape and coercive control of a woman he terrorised for years. Jurors saw a handwritten confession signed Dave and heard how his later victim said he ruined her life. Prosecutors have called him a manipulative predator who hid behind his warrant card. Detectives say the new convictions finally give his victims a voice, but warn that if his confession had been acted on back in 1990, many more women could have been protected. Reports suggest President Trump has approved a secret 28-point peace plan drawn up with Russia, but a proposal that Ukraine wasn't involved in. American military officials are now heading to Kyiv to restart talks, as leaks claim that the proposal would force Ukraine to give up the entire Donbass, as well as cap its long-range missiles and limit the size of its military. Kyiv says those demands would be outright capitulation after Moscow already pushed similar terms. The US State Department won't comment, but Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has said that both sides need realistic ideas if talks are ever going to move forward. President Trump also says he signed a new legislation ordering the US Justice Department to release its files from the criminal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law, officials now have 30 days to publish the documents, but it's unclear just how many will actually see the light of day. The Justice Department can still withhold anything that risks an active investigation. And that matters because just last week the president announced a new federal probe into Epstein's links to his Democratic opponents, a move that critics say could be used to keep key material under wraps. Emergency crews in the Czech Republic are dealing with a major rail incident there after 2 passenger trains collided. Authorities say 57 people were injured, several now in a serious condition. All passengers, though, have been evacuated, and transport officials say early indications suggest one train may have passed a stop signal, though the investigation is ongoing. And the UK has shivered through its coldest night of the autumn so far, temperatures sinking well below freezing across all 4 nations, and even down to -6 in Cumbria, -5 in Wales. Yellow warnings for snow and ice are stretching across much of the country today, and there's an amber alert for North Yorkshire, where up to 25 centimetres of snow could fall on higher ground. Forecasters say some could even see thunder snow later. That's a rare winter thunderstorm with heavy and fast-falling snow. You're up to date just after 1 o'clock. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, a look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Just coming up to 10 minutes past 1, the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3062 and €1.1346. The price of gold is £3,127.37 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 9,550 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. We'll take you straight to the House of Commons with the Home Secretary's making a statement.
And they found one here. In time, while always proud Kashmiris, they became British citizens themselves, Brummies too, and they brought up 4 children just as proud to be a part of this country and that great city as them. This is not just my story. This is the story of many of my constituents in Birmingham Ladywood, and it is the story of many millions more across this country. I, and so many others like me, are patriots. Mine is a love of a country that is forever changing, while something essential about us always endures. It is a patriotism that finds room for those who trace their roots back many generations, and those who, like me, do not. But I worry that this broad patriotism is, for some, narrowing, and that a vision of a Greater Britain is giving way to that of a littler England, as anger turns to hate. Some will choose to scorn this analysis. They would rather we simply wished it away. But those who look like me do not have that luxury. Our lives, and the lives of our families, are more dangerous in a country that turns inwards. So we have no choice but to ask, what is the cause of our division, and how might this country be united? As I said earlier this week, the pace and scale of migration in this country has been destabilising. I spoke on Monday of the 400,000 who have claimed asylum since 2021. But that figure pales in comparison to the net migration figure in the same period. In that time, 2.6 million more people moved to Britain than left. To place that in perspective, around 1 in every 30 people in this country arrived in those 4 years. This is the result of the extraordinary open border experiment conducted by the last Conservative government. In that period, now sometimes called the Boris wave, immigration controls were drastically lifted. This was most notable in the case of the health and care visa, where minimum salary requirements were dropped. An attempt to fill between 6,000 and 40,000 jobs led to the arrival of 616,000 individuals between 2022 and 2024. Over half were not even filling jobs in the sector at all, but were rather dependents of those who were. And abuse, as any Member of Parliament can tell you, was rife. I would think my support for migration need not be stated, but after some of the questions I faced on Monday, I think I had better do so. Migrant communities have, for generations, been woven into the tapestry of British life. While I will never believe in assimilating communities, we have achieved cohesion because different communities have integrated, retaining their distinction within a single pluralistic whole. This makes demands of those already here to remain open to new arrivals, but more than that, it demands something of those arriving. To settle in this country forever is not a right, but a privilege, and it must be earned. Today, that is not the case. Settlement, or indefinite leave to remain, comes almost automatically after 5 years' residence in this country. At that point, a migrant gains access to many of the rights of a British citizen, including to benefits. As a result of the unprecedented levels of migration in recent years, 1.6 million are now forecast to settle between 2026 and 2030, with a peak of 450,000 in 2028. It's around 4 times higher than the recent average. That will now change. As this government announced in its immigration white paper, the starting point for settlement will move from 5 years to 10. To ensure this is earned, new criteria will be added, which will act as a disqualifying bar for those who do not meet them. Firstly, the applicant must have a clean criminal record. Secondly, they must speak English to A-level standard. Thirdly, they must have made sustained national insurance contributions. And finally, they must have no debt in this country. While these criteria set the bar that everyone must meet, there are a series of other tests that have today been published for consultation, and these either add or subtract from the 10-year qualifying period. To recognise the particular value to society they play, the government proposes the following. Those who speak English to a degree level standard could qualify for a 9-year path to settlement. Those paying the higher rate of tax could qualify at 5 years, while those on the top rate could qualify after 3, the same as those on global talent visas. Those who work in a public service, including doctors, teachers, nurses, would qualify after 5 years, while those who volunteer, subject to this consultation, could qualify at between 5 and 7 years. Not subject to consultation, the partners of British citizens will continue to qualify at 5 years as today. And this is also true of British nationals overseas from Hong Kong, who will qualify at 5 years in honour of our unique responsibilities to them. All grants under the Windrush and EU settlement schemes also remain unchanged. While some will be able to qualify for settlement earlier than 10 years, others will be forced to wait longer. Once again, these are subject to consultation, but the government proposes that those who have received benefits for less than 12 months would not qualify for settlement until 15 years after arrival. For those who have claimed benefits for more than 12 months, that would rise to 20 years. To encourage the use of legal routes into this country, those who arrive illegally could see settlement take up to 30 years. As has already been set out, refugees on core protection will qualify for settlement after 20 years. Although those who move to a work and study visa could earn settlement earlier, and those arriving by a safe and legal route would earn settlement at 10 years. This consultation is open on some cohorts of special interest. This includes settlement rights for children, members of the armed forces, and victims of certain crimes. As well as considering the responsibilities that are expected of those who seek a permanent life in this country, the consultation also raises the question of the rights that will be provided. Specifically, it proposes that benefits might not be available to those who have settled status, reserving them instead for those who have earned British citizenship. Finally, this consultation addresses the question of the so-called Boris wave, specifically the cohort of lower qualified workers who entered the country along with their dependents through the health and care visa, some of whom are never expected to be net economic contributors. It is right that we apply more stringent controls for this group, and for that reason we propose they should wait 15 years before they can earn settlement. Crucially, for these and every other group mentioned here, we propose these changes apply to everyone in the country today who has not yet received indefinite leave to remain, though we are seeking views on whether there should be some transitional arrangements available. May I make one thing absolutely clear, though? We will not change the rules for those with settled status today. These are people who have been in our country for years, even decades. They have families here, wives, husbands, children. They've worked in our hospitals, taught in our schools, and have been contributing to our society for years. Fairness is the most fundamental of British values. We made a promise when we gave them settlement, and we do not break our promises. The Reform Party, I note, not present today, have said they will do this most un-British of things. The Tories have said that they will, but then said that they won't, and I am left in as much of a muddle about their policy as they are, that perhaps the Shadow Home Secretary might enlighten the House today. But I can be clear that on this side of the House, we won't change the rules for those with settled status. Madam Deputy Speaker, as this consultation shows, we also listen to the British public, and I encourage all those interested to make their voices heard. Today, I have set out what we propose, and perhaps more importantly, why. I love this country, which opened its arms to my parents around 50 years ago. But I am concerned by the division I see now, fuelled by a pace and scale of change that is placing immense pressure on local communities. For those who believe that migration is part of modern Britain's story and should always continue to be, we must prove that it can still work, that those who come here contribute, play their part and enrich our national life. While each will always retain something of who they were and where they came from, they become a part of the greatest multi-ethnic, multi-faith democracy in the world. And with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I, as always, thank the Home Secretary for advance sight of her statement. Well, she's had a busy week. I wonder if this burst of hyperactivity has anything to do with her leadership bid. But as her shadow, I will say this: I am rooting for her. I am rooting for her in her tussle with the Health Secretary as to who gets to replace the Prime Minister, although I fear my endorsement may not be entirely helpful with her colleagues on her side of the House. Now, let me start by saying this. Immigration under successive governments has been far, far too high. That has included illegal immigration, which since the general election across the Channel has surged, with 10,000 illegal immigrants crossing just in the 75 days the Home Secretary has been in post alone. Last year, the first year of a Labour government, there were a record ever number of new asylum claims, and the number of illegal immigrants accommodated in hotels has gone up under this Labour government, even though they promised they would reduce numbers. But of course, besides illegal immigration, on which this government is so clearly failing, legal migration has been far, far too high as well, absorbing the equivalent of half the new housing supply in recent years. Allowing mass low-skilled migration is actually bad for the economy, not least when we have 9.5 million working-age people here out of work. And mass low-skilled migration without integration has placed all kinds of pressures on society, not least because there are 1 million people here who don't speak English at all or properly, or the fact there are 10,000 foreign citizens in prison. Where I suspect we do agree is that limited, very limited, high-skill migration is a good thing, but the days of mass low-skill migration must come to an end. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, there is much in this statement I support, not least because so much of it is so familiar. The idea of a 10-year route to ILR is something that we proposed in amendments to the government's bill, I think around about 9 months ago. Inexplicably, the Labour Party inexplicably voted against those measures here just a few months ago, and now they've adopted them. We also proposed removing benefits from foreign citizens, including those on ILR who don't have British citizenship, and this consultation document now looks at doing the same thing. So I am delighted, Madam Deputy Speaker, to see that the Shadow Home Secretary, upon arrival at number 2 Marsham Street, has got out the copy and paste function on her laptop and started copying and pasting conservative policies. Now, I do, however, have one or two detailed and specific questions, which I am asking in a spirit of constructiveness, given she has adopted so many conservative policies. Now, she said importantly that these policies on ILR qualification would apply to those people here already. She is absolutely right to say that, and I support it. She mentions transitional arrangements. I would just urge her to be very cautious about that, lest it creates loopholes. But does she have an estimate she can give to the House as to when these new measures will be implemented? Because the rules that she referred to took effect, I think the previous rules around legal migration started in January 2021. So those people arriving on those rules will become, under the present ILR rules, eligible from January 2026, just a few weeks' time. So when will these changes get implemented? I hope as soon as possible. Now, she also mentions that to qualify for ILR at 10 years, you need to have made national insurance contributions. I've tried to get through the consultation document in the last half an hour. I think I'm right in saying that the qualifying threshold is to have earned £12,570 for a period of 3 years. She'll perhaps correct me if I've got that wrong. But that does strike me as a very low level of earnings, and I would urge her to consider setting that level higher. £12,500 for 3 years would not represent a net economic contribution to this country. I think that threshold should be set a great deal higher, and I would urge her to seriously consider that. Now, she also mentions the possibility of volunteering, getting people ILR at 5 years rather than 10. We know how people game the system when it comes to immigration. For example, by pretending to convert to Christianity to get asylum. So I would urge her to just draft those rules very carefully and be extremely cautious about that, lest she creates some loopholes. I would also ask her to consider adopting one last Conservative policy, since she appears so enthusiastic about them, and that is to introduce a binding cap on legal migration, voted for by Parliament each year, so this House can democratically decide what the level of inward migration is. She's adopted so many of her other policies. I strongly urge her to adopt that last one as well.
Home Secretary.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, I suppose I should start by saying I'm pleased to see that the Leader of the Opposition let the Shadow Home Secretary have a go today. He seems rather overly concerned about my personal future. May I suggest that he should worry about his own and that of his party? And one good way to secure the potential future of the Conservative Party would maybe start with an open and honest acknowledgement of their track record in government. Yeah. Dare I say it, maybe even an apology for messing up the system so badly in the first place. I have to say, given their current track record, they barely have the right to ask questions, let alone propose solutions. Like settlement, it's my view that you have to earn the right to offer solutions, and I would say to him one way of earning that right would be to apologise for what the Tories did first and foremost. He asked a specific question in relation to when these changes will come into effect. It's a 12-week consultation. It will end in the middle of February, and we would anticipate making changes and to begin the phase-out of those changes once adopted from April 2026 of next year. As he knows, the immigration rules usually change twice a year, every year, and that is when we would begin to start making some of those changes. Some potential changes would require technical fixes and solutions that may take a little longer, but the intention is to start from April of next year. He made the point on the qualifying threshold around £12,000. He will note that that's the national insurance contributions threshold that we have used, and that is specifically because that is one of the quickest ways to establish whether somebody is in work or not. So it's designed to give an indication of the period spent in work. He will, of course, know that there are different income thresholds for the different routes by which people can come into the country, and those are not being changed. He made a valid point on ensuring that the new system, as we develop it, mustn't have any loopholes. I will, of course, be very alive to that, and as we discussed at length in the House on Monday, there is a relationship between some types of visa overstaying and, of course, coming straight into the asylum system as well, and I'm very alive to those risks, and we will do everything we can to shut that down. This will be, in the end, a whole package of reforms across both the illegal migration system and dealing with asylum, as well as legal migration, to clamp down on abuse and retain public confidence in running a migration system overall and in the asylum system in particular. And what can I say on the cap? I mean, the cap has had a long life in the Conservative Party, and I would just gently say they never managed it in 14 years themselves. I don't think we're going to be pursuing that failure now.
Meg Hillier.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I applaud my right honourable friend on many points, not least debunking the idea that a cap is going to solve anything or is even achievable. Madam Deputy Speaker, there's a lot of detail in this, but one of the issues now is that people going through the system have to apply repeatedly to extend their discretionary leave to remain until they reach settlement status. This is costly for them, cumbersome for the Home Office, and does nothing to help them integrate or work in the community. I've had the opportunity to meet with her junior minister on this issue. Can she give any assurance to the House that the Home Office is looking at this to ensure that those who are welcome here have a less burdensome system to go through, which will also hopefully save money and enable the Home Office to focus on more urgent issues?
Well, my right honourable friend brings a huge amount of personal experience to this discussion, having been a minister herself and with a very august track record as a select committee chairwoman. So I will always take very seriously any suggestions that she makes, and I will discuss with my ministerial team the detail of some of what she suggests. I think our principled position is it is right that people pay fees for visa extensions. It is right that we move from a 5-year to a 10-year period, a qualifying period for settlement. We're not consulting commenting on whether we move from 5 years to 10 years. That is already decided policy. What is set out in the consultation are some of the other questions that sit underneath that. But I would happily discuss with her, because I know she has big experience in this area, Home Office capacity and how we build a system that can work effectively, not only in terms of being delivered by the state, but providing certainty for the people that ultimately do want to make their lives in this country.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Matt Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Before I begin, I beg your forgiveness in taking a few extra seconds to reflect on the exchanges in this chamber on Monday. I would like to use the opportunity to put on the record my utter contempt for those who abused the Home Secretary. Anybody else who is abused based on the colour of their skin or their religion. That is not what Britain stands for. The Home Secretary, of course, will choose the language that she wants to use in this debate, and I will choose my language too. The constructive and moderate tone of voice that I and the Liberal Democrats will use in these discussions about immigration will remain, as will our attempts to help offer feedback as and when the government brings forward proposals. The number of Liberal Democrats in the chamber today shows that we are not ignoring this. Indeed, we've got as many in the chamber today as the whole of the Reform Party, and none of them are here. We're aware, as others, of the issues in communities up and down in the country, and for immigrants who live here too. We agree with the Home Secretary that faith must be restored in the immigration and asylum system, as I stated on Monday, and we agree that requires changes to policy. And of course, most of what we're discussing today is distinct from some of the discussions we were having on Monday about desperate refugees and asylum seekers. We also believe that it must be acknowledged that prior to Brexit and the removal of nearly all safe and legal routes, this country had a more rational and controlled approach to immigration and asylum. That party is responsible. We think it is regrettable that the government has not made quicker progress towards building stronger links with Europe in its work on getting control of our immigration policy. And we believe that discussions about regaining control must also come with a proper discussion about the opportunities that provides and the potential risks. Changes to pathways to settlement must be with regard to the economy, to public services and fairness to individuals. We are concerned about the chilling effect some changes could have on the economy. The UK is fast becoming a less competitive place for science and innovation, not least because of Brexit. The cost of a 5-year global talent visa to Britain is £6,000 per person. That is around 20 times more expensive than comparable visas in our competitor countries, where similar schemes typically cost a few £100s. It is no surprise that so few researchers come to Britain on these visas every year. Cancer research alone spends £900,000 annually, money that could be better spent on setting up research labs instead. The government must also be careful about the effect its rhetoric and policy will have on our public services. The NHS is heavily reliant on nurses and staff who are not British nationals. So has the Home Secretary made an assessment of the risks that some will leave, and what steps is this government taking to develop domestic talent in the health and care sector?
Thank you. I thank the Lib Dem spokesperson. I don't propose to revisit the detail of our exchanges on Monday, but what I will say to him is I will always listen to constructive contributions wherever they come from in this House, and I will reflect on the points that the Liberal Democrats will be making in order to be constructive. One thing where we will perhaps continue to disagree is I think it's just important we acknowledge that there is concern across our country. It is not made up, and it does demand answers of politicians. And I'm just, that is a point of, I hope now, agreement between us. I think he made a point in relation to the asylum system. Forgive me, I didn't pick it up directly, so if I don't address it now, he's welcome to write to me on that point. Again, I don't propose to go into the details that we discussed on Monday on the asylum policy statement, but one of the things that I did make very clear is the number of those arriving on small boats in this country is exactly the same almost as the number that overstay visas. So there is a relationship here in the overall migration system between legal migration and then illegal migration, and that overstaying and then coming straight into the asylum system, and in particular into asylum accommodation at the point at which a visa ends and somebody overstays, is a very real problem with very real significant significant numbers of people doing that, and that is something that I think it is incumbent on us to resolve, and that is what the totality of all of these reforms are designed to do. He will, of course, note that the government has made huge strides in resetting our relationship with the European Union, and these are matters that we discuss very closely with our counterparts in Europe, and I think that the progress since the EU reset has been considerable, and we will continue to build on that. Once again, though, I don't propose to revisit old debates. We live in a new reality, and we are forging a new path ahead. We will, of course, want to give certainty to people who are already in this country. That is what we are doing with the consultation that we have set, and I have given certainty, for example, to British citizens who wish to bring their dependents over, those who are here from Hong Kong, where our arrangements will not change, Windrush grants, EU settlement grants as well, none of which are affected by the consultation. People have known for a while, since the government published its immigration white paper, that the qualifying period would move from 5 years to 10. He made a point about fairness to individuals. I would just gently say I agree about that, because fairness and certainty to those who've come here to work and make a contribution to our economy is absolutely important. I think what our reforms are designed to do, however, is also to think of fairness to those who are already here and building public confidence in the system overall. He made some points on the National Health Service, and I know that the Secretary of State for Health takes very seriously future labour market reforms and making sure there is a pipeline of the required labour in order to make sure that our NHS keeps going, and we absolutely value the contribution that those from overseas who've come to work here in our National Health Service have made, are making, and will always continue to make.
Dame Leah Griffiths.
Indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, I have a concern.
OK, if you're joining us now, we are listening to Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, who's addressing the House of Commons about the government plans to tackle migration. It's now officially published its policy document on earned settlement, which have been described already as the most controlled and selective in Europe, the toughest in Europe. Mark White is with us now. Mark.
Well, this is all about, according to the Home Secretary, rewarding those who are net contributors to this country, who are not abusing the system by claiming benefits and the like. So we're told the changes will apply to almost 2 million migrants who arrived in the UK since 2021. It'll apply, it won't apply to those that have already been granted settled status. Low-paid workers, such as the 616,000 people and their dependents who came on the health and social care visa system between 2022 and 2024, will now be, under these proposals, subject to having to wait not 5 years, as is currently the case, but 15 years before they are granted settled status. There'll also be penalties, as I said, for those exploiting the system. So migrants relying on benefits will now face, under these proposals, a 20-year wait for settled status, compared to the 5-year wait that they currently have, so quadrupling of the time, according to Shabana Mahmood, if these proposals go through as they're intended. Proposals would also see migrants only become eligible for benefits and social housing if they first become British citizens, because at the moment you gain settled status, you then gain access to pretty much everything that a British citizen would, which includes unemployment benefit.
And this is the Reform Party policy to a great extent, that only British citizens should be in receipt of any welfare benefits. But of course, the Labour Party is not going quite as far as the Reform Party, because there was a very specific element of the Home Secretary's statement, which was to say this is not going to be retrospective for anyone who has already received indefinite leave to remain status. They maintain that status. This is about anything going forward as opposed to anything going back.
Yes, that's right. She doesn't want to go down the road, as she sees it, that Reform does, which is potentially, as you say, going back and revoking that settled status.
Although, interestingly, She's got an advantage in this because the reform policy was talking about the so-called Boris wave. These people who came in 2021, 2022, the massive numbers of particularly low-skilled migrants who came, health and social care visa and the like.
Yeah, it was over 2.5 million.
Extraordinary numbers. The Home Secretary used the word Boris wave, not once, but at least twice in her speech. I quickly checked Hansard, the sort of body of everything that has ever been said in Parliament. According to my quick search, this was the first time the word Boris wave was used from the front bench in Parliament. The Home Secretary really leaning into this, which was something that the Reform Party was talking about in their significant press conference on this very issue. The reason why Reform wanted to do it retrospectively is they're not going to be in power in time for next year to deal with the Boris wave benefit question. I suppose the Home Secretary, she's in power now.
She's in power now, and if these proposals can go through in a timely manner, then they can interject in the vast majority of cases. About 1.6 million, I think it is, migrants are due to receive settled status by 2030. So if they can get them through in time, they don't then have to deal with those retrospectively. But there's another reason why she's mentioning the Boris wave, because they want to pin the very significant inflow of migrants to this country on the previous government. They want to portray themselves as the government that's actually now dealing with the problem and is going to deal with it robustly. But, of course, like her proposals earlier in the week for dealing with illegal migration and asylum seekers, it's likely to come up, I'm sure, against some spirited opposition, shall we say, from people within our own party. Listen, it's worth just highlighting another couple of things about this. I was saying that illegal migrants under her proposals will now have to wait 30 years before they could gain settled status. In contrast, though, doctors and nurses coming from overseas to work here will only have to wait 5 years for settled status. And actually, if you are a higher earner, you're an entrepreneur, someone with the kind of talents and skills that they are specifically after, you gain under the earned settlement status more points, and rather than waiting 5 years, it might only take you 3 years to gain your settled status. So they want to also show that they are pointed in the direction of entrepreneurs, those that are going to help grow the economy. Believe it or not, but that's certainly what she wants in her proposals to get across here. Let's see how it stands up to the rigour of opposition from her own party.
Yeah, tightening up the low-skilled migration, but actually being a little bit more favourable to high-skilled.
There's certainly a lot to delve into here, so many questions. So now let's talk to human rights lawyer David Hay to get the finer detail on this. David, you are obviously watching and listening. Now, this has been described as some of the toughest migration rules in Europe. What did you make of what you've had to hear?
Hi, good afternoon. I think certainly from my experience and in my memories, the most seismic changes in immigration that if, and that's I think the big point here, if it gets through as she stated, because I mean just listening to that and looking at what's coming through, I think there's going to be a lot of difficulties from her backbenchers, because they are some very untraditional Labour-like policies. I think a lot of them are going to, if they go through, I think some of them are very positive. Will help in many things when it comes to asylum.
I mean, this is a really significant moment because in many ways there is now a sort of cross-party consensus that the enormous wave of migration that we saw in the wake of COVID, and to be fair, that many countries around the world saw in the wake of COVID. I think about a third of OECD countries had 2023 or 2022 as their highest ever year for migration. It seems that all of the parties now seem to say that that was a mistake, that there needs to be some pretty rapid reform to how indefinite leave to remain status is divvied out. Otherwise, there are going to be millions more benefit claimants in this country.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. I mean, I think, we are where we are because of successive policies of our successive governments, whether it's, that's ultimately why we're here in the first place, because these policies were put in place. For instance, the Boris wave that's now being referred to quite a lot, but also governments before them. That's why we are here. Like I said, in my experience, this is the most seismic change in immigration law, I think, ever, if it gets through. And that's the big thing. There's some policies now, I think, that will also struggle, may end up having fights with the ECHR and going up through the courts, particularly when it comes to people here and transitional measures that she's mentioned. I think you can have some issues there. But certainly very, very surprising coming from a Labour Home Secretary.
David, what do you think of the sliding scale of indefinite leave to remain? I mean, obviously people that are entrepreneurs, higher taxpayers, they will have to wait 5 years. If you are here illegally, it could be potentially 30 years.
I understand why we need to do that. I think it's important that, we also want to attract the right type of talent into this country, and we want to make it easy for them. I think we need to be careful when we look at, we don't want to end up in a situation when we talked about, for instance, they looked at when people are married to English people, so when they're bringing across their foreign spouse, whether or not they're going to change that. They said that will stay at 5 years. So we need to kind of make sure the balance is there fairly. And I think we need to see a bit more detail for that. So that's the only concern that I would have there, just making sure that it is fair. I think if people do come here illegally, then we shouldn't be giving them settled status. I think that's one of the things that we shouldn't be doing. But I think, again, it needs to be looked at on a fair balance. So like I said, I think we're going to have some difficulty, the Labour Party is going to have some difficulty getting this through in the form that she said. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens next. It's certainly very, very tough measures.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David Hay, thanks indeed for talking through them with us. Of course, more reaction to this seismic announcement on migration throughout the programme.
Yes, we will. So do let us know what you're thinking as well. gbnews.com/your say. This is a Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there is loads more coming up on today's show.
Yes, transgender people could be banned from single-sex spaces due to their looks. Under new guidance, hospital wards, gyms and leisure centres will be able to question women based on how they look, their behaviour, or indeed concerns raised by others.
But if you are in search of some holiday sun, then who would blame you? Here is a forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, some drier weather for Portugal over the next few days. Rain will affect parts of the Canaries, in particular Tenerife through Friday. Highs of 19 degrees with overcast skies. Lisbon looking nice and dry, just 10 degrees though, so still fairly chilly. Now the remnants of Storm Claudia moving into the Mediterranean, bringing some persistent wet weather through Friday and into the weekend as well. But if we look to Tenerife, it is looking much drier and brighter by Monday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Camilla Tominey. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Me and my mum, and look, it looks real, doesn't it?
It isn't. I thought that was real when I first saw it.
Not that you'll be able to see it, but anyway, it's me and mum.
Things like that, AI is amazing, isn't it? Because your mum's no longer with us.
Yes.
You've got a lovely video of you hugging her.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Which is not real, but anyway. It's but I liked it. Like the idea, I thought they've done it very well.
Yeah.
It's quite. But good luck to kids learning to tell the difference between all of that.
Well, we are talking about education today. Lots of you getting in touch. Edmund says, my grandson ended up going to hospital with stress over his exams. GCSEs are too much, I think. They've gotten harder and harder. They're not like they were when I was at school. I only got 3 exams done at 16 and then I dropped out afterwards.
What, you get 3 exams at 16?
That's what Edmund got. He says GCSEs are much harder now. Peter says some of us were self-sufficient at 15 years old. We were growing our own food, we were collecting fuel for our fires, and we had paper jobs, not playing with phones and on social media all the time.
That's a very good point. That's absolutely right. You know, people were fighting in the First World War and the Second World War at 15, 16, 17. And, you know, I mean, pressure. I mean, I just think I think we should teach kids to be more resilient.
Yes.
That's the thing. I think that you just can't say they've buckled and we see that as the latest stage. Some of you may agree with me, but I mean, everybody. I mean, how the heck? I could bore you silly, believe me, bore you silly with pressure and things you did for school and you know, what was expected. There was just no tolerance for any leniency in my school at all. But we got through it, and I can say happiest days of my life still.
Well, maybe resilience needs to be taught in the national curriculum. Maybe it needs to be taught more
resilience,
at home.
good idea.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10 to 2, and transgender people could be banned from single-sex spaces based on their appearance, according to new guidance provided by the Equality and Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, the news comes amid growing backlash over both private and public bodies' failure to implement the Supreme Court's ruling.
Well, we're joined now by gender-critical campaigner Lindsay Smith. Lindsay, this guidance has not been formally published, it's been leaked to a newspaper. What do you make of it?
I mean, I think a lot of it is basic common sense. When it comes to single-sex spaces, I don't feel like there really is any compromise. I understand they want to have dignity and safety and things like that. That's everybody deserves that. But I don't think that should come at the cost of women having their single-sex spaces, their dignity and their safety, you know, as well put aside, really.
Lindsay, it's been 11 weeks now, since April, since Bridget Phillotson sort of like had this on her desk. All she's got to do is publish it, and then we all know where we actually are more clearly. At the moment, it's still a lot of confusion. A lot of, I mean, certainly the NHS, a lot of sports facilities are still very confused about whether they should let people identifying as the opposite sex into single-sex spaces still. There is no guidance, there is no defined guidance, so we've got the ridiculous situation where people who don't conform to the accepted stereotype of what a man should look like or what a woman should look like are turned away from single-sex spaces to have access to.
I mean, there may be the odd situation where that could happen. I mean, I'm typically a gender, what you call a gender non-conforming woman. I've never had any issues ever in my life. I don't know any women, you know, I know a lot of women that are very similar to me. We've never had any issues with it, you know. And even if from behind someone could mistake you, all it takes is turning around and it takes a split second for them to realise that you are a woman. You know, I don't think it's more, I think it's more to protect us and give us that ability to be able to challenge people coming in, you know. Transsexual people don't want to make a song and dance about who they are. They don't want the big hoo-ha. All they want to do is blend into society and live. I understand that. I know that. I have transsexual friends. But the problem is you've got a lot of people who do like to draw attention to it, and it has been made an incredibly political thing. You know, when you've got a man going into a woman's space who's clearly a man, who clearly hasn't done anything to transition, and he's walked in there, he's over 6 foot tall, of course, women and young girls are going to feel intimidated. So I agree, we do need to draw a line, and we really need to have some real guidance, because we need the ability to be able to challenge this again and challenge it fairly.
Lindsay, I think the whole country's behind you when you talk about someone with a beard who has done nothing to sort of affect the way they look and just declaring I'm a woman and walking in. Clearly that's unacceptable. But then there are going to be cases of transgender women who have done everything to change the way that they look and are going in. I mean, under this guidance, they're probably still going to go in, whereas some more butch women might be turned away?
I mean, it's something that may happen. I think we're only really going to know, we can't really predict the future. So I think it's something we're only going to know as time goes by, and then we could possibly find ways to deal with that. Me personally, I just don't think there's any compromise when it comes to single-sex spaces, both for men and
Lindsay
women.
Smith, thanks so much for coming on and talking through such a complicated issue. We'll have to discuss it more, I'm sure, in the future. This is Good Afternoon Britain. Lots more coming up after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is a cold day for all of us today with Arctic winds across the country, bright skies for most, but for some, further wintry scenes. We've seen snow affecting parts of northeast England, northern Scotland and some locations in Pembrokeshire even. And we'll continue to see showers move in during the rest of Thursday across parts of Northern Ireland, northern Scotland, eastern Scotland into northeast and eastern England, as well as the southwest. Those showers around coasts falling as rain and sleet, but inland and over higher ground, further snow to come. The showers tending to ease off later. In between, some bright skies, some decent sunshine, although continuing to feel cold with that Arctic wind. And overnight, the main issue will be icy patches because we'll have further showers coming in to northern Scotland, for example, giving some slippery surfaces and further snow accumulations over hills. Those showers easing off a little for Northern Ireland, but still some around to cause some icy issues first thing Friday. Likewise for West Wales into Cornwall, but for much of the rest of Wales and the southwest of England, as well as a broad central part of the UK, it's simply a clear and in places frosty night, although there'll be an increase in cloud cover across the east of England, mitigating against hard frost here. But those showers will continue across parts of eastern England, and again, likewise here, we're going to see some icy patches first thing Friday. So yeah, slippery surfaces first thing, frosty, temperatures below -10 Celsius, where we've got snow cover across parts of Highland Scotland. And that cold feel continues through the day, but the one difference is that the showers will have mostly gone. Plenty of sunshine out and about. Some rain moving into the northwest of Scotland, marking a change to milder and wetter for the weekend.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of November. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, 2 million legal so-called Boris Wave migrants who arrived in the UK from 2021 onwards now can stay in the country for another 10 years before they're able to claim benefits under new proposals. These are put forward by the Home Secretary.
We will not change the rules for those with settled status today. These are people who have been in our country for years.
Meanwhile, SAS soldiers threatened the government with legal action over the new Troubles Bill. They don't buy Labour's claims that veterans will be protected.
Elsewhere, Diana Rama, yes, a shocking new book, claims Princess Diana's 1995 Panorama interview sent her life on a terribly dangerous course. We'll speak to the author.
And shocking new research reveals parents are giving their children an average of 6 mental health days off school a year. Is it time parents grew up, though?
You felt it, we felt it. Yes, the whole of Britain feels the freeze this morning as the Met Office issues a thunder snow warning.
We're here in North Yorkshire where an amber weather alert for snow has been issued, with up to 25 centimetres of the white stuff falling in higher ground.
Well, I'm not gonna say a thing. I'm loving the snow. I'm loving the snow. The fact that we all get our knickers in a twist over just a few centimetres. Sorry.
Goodness me. The snow, I think, is a lovely thing to happen. And I think we have this sort of Dickensian notion that you can't have Christmas without snow.
Well, there is that.
But it is very rare that actually we get a white Christmas.
It's very rare we get a white Christmas. We do tend to get the bad weather in January and February. And older viewers and listeners out there will remember the winter of 1962 into 1963.
Yeah.
Yes, you ask your nan probably. That was the year my mum got married, and she literally, the snow was so bad, and this is in London, she had to walk to church, couldn't get there any other way, in her my granddad's wellies, under her dress, with my granddad's coat on, literally walked to church down the road, and the snow was literally 6-7 feet.
What a romantic
in
setting.
London.
What a romantic setting, a snow-covered church. Yes, OK, you have to trench there in your wellies.
She got married in wellies.
Amazing.
Oh, come on.
I think there's a strange romance to that.
There is, but I mean, that was a very bad winter. But let us know your stories about how you think maybe winters were. We survived a bit better. We were more tougher in the past.
Do you remember the Beast from the East in 2016? Was it?
I think it was round about
2015, 16. Yeah, that was a cracking winter. There was so much snow.
But it is. I mean, but
this is apparently Arctic rather than Eastern.
Yeah,
what we're seeing now.
It is, yeah, it's popping down from the Arctic. But it's good. Any case, let us know what you're thinking about all the stories we're discussing today. If you want to tell us your snow stories as well, maybe you remember 1962, 63 and how you survived that. Yes, it's very simple to get involved at gbnews.com/yoursay. But all of that coming up after the headlines with Sam Francis.
Dawn, Tom, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. Just coming up to 2:04. The Home Secretary has unveiled one of the most sweeping rewrites of the UK's migration rules in decades, warning that years of rapid arrivals have destabilised communities. Shabana Mahmood says settlement will no longer be automatic, with tougher checks, longer waits, and new expectations on English, tax contributions and criminal records. It means almost 2 million people who migrated legally to Britain since 2021 will now have to have been in the UK for 10 years instead of 5 in order to be considered for permanent settlement. But the opposition mocked that announcement, with Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp joking that Labour had simply borrowed Conservative policy and rebranded it as their own.
There is much in this statement I support, not least because so much of it is so familiar. So I am delighted, Madam Deputy Speaker, to see that the Shadow Home Secretary, upon arrival at number 2 Marsham Street, has got out the copy and paste function on her laptop and started copying and pasting Conservative policies.
But Shabana Mahmood hit back, insisting the Tories lost the right to lecture anyone after they presided over record migration and what she called an open border experiment.
Given their current track record, they barely have the right to ask questions, let alone propose solutions. Like settlement, it's my view that you have to earn the right to offer solutions, and I would say to him, one way of earning that right would be to apologise for what the Tories did first and foremost.
Also this afternoon, the government is under fire over Britain's defence readiness after the sighting of a Russian spy ship off the coast of Scotland, and claims the UK's defences are still dangerously exposed. Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge blasted what he called Labour's glacial pace on strengthening security, warning the Yantar's laser attack on RAF pilots marks a serious escalation. But Defence Minister Al Khan's hit back, accusing the Conservatives of leaving Britain's armed forces decrepit. He said the Yantar will not go unchallenged, with the Navy and the RAF tracking its every move.
The Yantar has once again been operating in and around the UK's EEZ for the second time this year. During this time, she was continuously monitored by Royal Navy frigate HMS Somerset and the RAF's P8s. We will ensure that the Yantar is not able to conduct its mission unchallenged or untracked. But this has not been without difficulties.
Westminster is awaiting the long-awaited publish of the COVID inquiry papers, a report into the political decision-making during the pandemic. The findings will examine how key ministers and senior officials, some of whom still in government, handled the crisis, from the timing of the first lockdown in March 2020 to the delayed second one that autumn. It will assess whether enough attention was paid to the impact of restrictions on vulnerable groups, as well as scrutinise the government's messaging, including stark public health adverts. More than 160 witnesses have given evidence, including Boris Johnson, as all 4 nations now come under the microscope. After one of the most shocking police abuse cases in UK history, David Carrick has been jailed today for life again, this time with a minimum 30-year term for molesting a 12-year-old girl and raping a former partner. The ex-armed Met Police officer, already serving dozens of life sentences for 71 previous offences, was convicted of 5 indecent assaults on a child in the late 1980s and rape and coercive control against a woman he terrorised for years. Jurors saw a hand-written confession signed Dave and heard how his later victim said he ruined her life. Prosecutors have called him a manipulative predator who hid behind his warrant card. Detectives say these new convictions finally give his victims a voice, but warned that if his confession had been acted on back in 1990, many more women could have been protected. Reports suggest President Trump has approved a secret 28-point peace proposal drawn up with Russia, but a plan that Ukraine wasn't involved in. American military officials are now heading to Kyiv to restart talks, as leaks claim the proposal would force Ukraine to give up the entire Donbass and cap its long-range weapons, even limiting the size of its military. Kyiv says those demands would be outright capitulation after Moscow pushed similar demands before. The US State Department hasn't commented, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said both sides need realistic ideas if talks are ever going to move forward. And the UK has shivered through its coldest night of autumn so far, temperatures sinking well below freezing across all 4 nations, down to -6 in Cumbria. Yellow warnings for snow and ice are stretching across much of the country. There's also an amber alert for North Yorkshire in place, with up to 25 centimetres of snow expected to fall on higher ground. Forecasters say some could even see thunder snow later, which would be a rare winter thunderstorm with heavy, fast-falling snow. Those are your 2 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you shortly. Next, though, let's take a look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
These are the markets for you just after 2 o'clock. The pound will buy you $1.3062 and €1.1346. The price of gold is £3,127, 37 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,550 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Yeah, quite. Good afternoon, Britain. It is now 9 minutes past 2. And 2 million legal migrants who arrived in the UK from 2021 must have stayed in the country for an additional 10 years before they're considered for settled status. That means before they can claim benefits. These are all under new proposals put forward by the Home Secretary.
Yes, earlier this year, the government announced it would double the qualifying period for migrants, hoping to be granted permanent settlement from 5 years to 10 years, with reductions available for those who make a strong contribution to British life, and certainly those sort of entrepreneurs and working in the NHS, etc.
Well, joining us now is Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, live in the studio. Mark, this is a significant change for the government.
Well, there's no doubt it is. It's all about, according to the Home Secretary, trying to ensure that those who get settled status or indefinite leave to remain, as we know it by, have to earn that right. And that will mean longer waits. For those that would normally have to wait about 5 years, it goes up to 10 years. And then if you're, as the government sees it, guilty of various infractions, such as claiming benefits, it goes up to 15 years. In fact, if you've been claiming benefits for 12 months or under, it goes up by an additional 5 years, so you'd have to wait 15 years for settled status. If you've been claiming benefits for over 12 months, it would go up to 20 years you would have to wait for settled status. And I know by the puzzled look on your face, Tom, that you're going to say, if you are not allowed to claim benefits until you get settled status, how can you be claiming benefits? Right. A lot of benefits are not available to you until you get settled status, but there are benefits available to you, especially if you have a family.
And these are mostly council-derived benefits rather than central government-derived benefits?
Both, I think. So there are certainly benefits that are available to migrants who've not been in the country very long at all. And if those individuals are seen as immediately taking out of the state benefit system, it is unlikely that in the government's view they are necessarily going to be anytime soon a net contributor to the UK economy. So making them wait longer is seen as a bit of a disincentive for, one, claiming benefits, and two, perhaps for coming here in the first place.
Well, the one thing I was confused about, and I can't seem to find any answer in any of the information the government put out, is if you're here illegally, you have to wait 30 years before you can claim settled status or any benefits. If you're here illegally, you shouldn't be here, full stop, surely.
Well, you would absolutely be right, I think, in arguing that point. But the fact is, and we see it all the time, that there are people who live here illegally. They've worked in the black economy in this country. And they've maybe been here 20 years, 25 years. And when they're eventually found out, if they can prove that they've been living here for that period of 20 years, then they are entitled to permanent settled status, effectively, permanent leave to remain. That's just the system that has always been there. They want to increase that to 30 years. But yes, there are many people, I think, quite rightly would feel a bit incredulous at the fact that if you're living here illegally in the first place, you should not qualify for any kind of ability to be able to gain some kind of settled status.
But this brings us back to the ECHR, because if you've been living here illegally, then you've perhaps found a partner who is here legally. You've perhaps started a family, then you can have your right to a family life keep you in the country. Also, I suppose there are those who come here illegally. The government knows that they're here illegally. They sort of take them through the court system and try to remove them. But because they're, well, number one, they're not accepted as a refugee, but there's something preventing their deportation because the court says there would be a risk of refoulement if they were to go back to their original country or even a different country that could then pass them on. So even though they're here illegally, under the UN conventions that we're signed up to, they can't be removed.
And this is why Shabana Mahmood wants to make some key changes to the ECHR to make sure that judges are cognizant of our laws and the intention of our lawmakers when it comes to illegal immigration, so that some of the issues that migrants have been able to rely on, such as the right to a family life, Article 8, of the ECHR doesn't hold as much sway as it has done.
That's a contentious thing for the government to bring forward, of course, because there have been lots of European countries that have tried to amend the ECHR, but you need unanimity amongst European countries to amend the ECHR, and that seems like quite a tall order.
Yeah, I just want to add a bit. Tom, my producer, has just been doing some work for us while we were talking on air about the kind of benefits, and though we don't, I mean, there are various benefits, but basically a migrant coming to this country, even if they don't have settled status, the current system is that migrants who are at risk of destitution do get benefits. But if they are already in the country and claiming benefits, the government wants to ensure that they have to wait a very long time before they're ever eligible for settled status.
And this is sneaky because the government says, and the rule sort of, as most people understand it, is you can't claim benefits until you've been here for 5 years, until you've contributed. You have no recourse to public funds. But if you're poor enough, if you come here legally but then don't earn enough money and the government decrees you to be at risk of destitution, suddenly that opens the door to the benefit vault.
Yes, and that's why there is, I think, real concern within government circles that, you know, it is an avenue that is being exploited. Remember, migrants are much better advised than they ever were by the wraparound care they get from the human rights charities, the refugee charities, the human rights lawyers. So they are well placed to be able to capitalise on the potential benefits, the housing that might be available to them if they are in danger of being destitute. So this is why the government want to put some real disincentives there, that you're going to have to wait an awful long time before you get that sort of indefinite leave to remain. Personally speaking, I'm not convinced that it's going to make that much difference in the calculation of anyone who wants to come to this country to, you know, work wherever, either work legally and pay taxes or just disappear off into the black economy. As long as they're in the country, as long as they're getting the work that gives them an income that they can send back home to whichever country they've come from, that's job done from their point of view.
It could save Rachel Reeves quite a bit of money over the next 2 years when potentially millions of Boris wave migrants could start claiming the full tranche of benefits in this country. They now won't be able to do that.
Well, if these proposals go through unhindered, I am not convinced, judging by the reaction we've already seen from Labour backbenchers to the changes that Shabana Mahmood wanted to bring in around illegal migration and the asylum system, that these changes to legal migration will go through unhindered.
Lots of people are agreeing with you on that one, Mark. Mark White, for now, thank you very much. OK, now let's talk to international security and border control expert Henry Bolton. Henry, these are being described as the most controlled and selective system in Europe for permanent migration, the toughest in Europe, evidently. Lots of people on here, and you've just heard what Mark White's saying, not entirely convinced it's going to work out as Shabana Mahmood thinks.
No, I'm one of them. I don't think it will either. I think Mark is entirely right that the impact as a deterrent is going to be negligible. The other thing is, look, you know, what Shabana Mahmood has said is that she's sort of copying some of the lessons learnt by Denmark. And Denmark's an interesting case, and for many years I've advocated that we should actually look at what Denmark's doing, because it's doing some very robust things. But Denmark predicates its entire system, the principle underlying the entire system of asylum and asylum particularly, is that it is temporary in nature. You are giving refuge to people who are fleeing their homeland temporarily, with the intention that they should be able to return as soon as wherever they've come from is safe for them to do so. Now that sets in, you know, that changes the whole administrative system. And also, for example, in Denmark, they have one authority that makes a decision about whether or not to grant asylum. You know, once that decision is made, there is no appeal. Here in the UK, we've got the first tier tribunal, we've got the upper tribunal, we've got the courts of appeal, we've got the Supreme Court, and then we've got judicial reviews. We've got 5 tiers, and that's not even to mention an appeal to the ECHR. But because our laws are what they are, and the Home Secretary has not uttered a word about addressing this legal administrative structure and architecture, because they are what they are, I don't see that any of these people, whatever they do, are going to be removed from the country. And if they're not removed from the country, ultimately, the UK government is responsible in some way or another for supporting them. So, you know, and I'll tell you where I think this is going. The word contribution appears. You know, they can't claim benefits unless they've contributed. So how do a lot of these people contribute? We've got to open up the possibility of them working. And we've got to broaden that. And if we broaden that, then we're encouraging that movement to the United Kingdom. So I think there's a whole range of things. First of all, sorry, I've lost. Oh, there we go.
Because you're referring to the current ban that there is on asylum seekers from working. You think the government might lift that?
I think they might do, yes. And I think also the other thing to sort of, you know, I'd add to this mix, we are assuming in all of this that indefinite leave to remain is a viable option. Why? Why should that be the case? We're allowing that assumption just to sort of permeate throughout all the discussion. Denmark, for example, does not have such a thing. You know, you and many countries. I mean, I worked in Vienna for a long time. You know, when my job ended, although I had the right to remain, and I was there for seven years, at the end of the rationale from me being there, I had to leave. I mean, you know, it's simple. Why do we have this assumption that whoever we allow into the country, we are allowing them in with the if you like the default position that they are here for good, because that is what our entire system is predicated on. And until that changes, until the Home Secretary addresses that, I'm afraid that the number of people here is not going to decrease whatsoever. The deterrent is not going to be there, and ultimately, although we might shave some money off here and there on benefits, the ultimate pressure on our public utilities and services and infrastructure is going to remain exactly as it is now, if not get worse.
Well, Henry, thank you very much. Interestingly, that was the one thing that we were promised we'd mention. It hasn't been the fact that, you know, temporary. Thank you very much, Henry Bolton, for joining us today. And also, while I'm thanking people, I just want to thank Mandy, Lynn, Molly and Bren for getting in touch about your winter memories of 62, 63.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of those winter memories, perhaps some will be made today. Yes, the Met Office is issuing those yellow warnings for snow and ice.
Don't go there.
I'm not going to go there. But, of course, dozens of schools have closed in parts of northern Scotland.
Yes, so we've sent, obviously we would do, wouldn't we? We've sent a reporter to stand in a snowy field. Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley is the reporter in question. Anna. Oh, she's on a pavement. Anna.
Good afternoon, Dawn and Tom. You join us from West Heselton here in North Yorkshire, where they've got these lovely snowy scenes. We've got a pub here. It's not quite the Daubney Arms, it's the Dornaway Arms, but doesn't it look beautiful? It's like a winter wonderland here, some lovely scenes. And you mentioned schools being closed in Scotland. Well, there's 40 schools closed across North Yorkshire and parts of East Yorkshire as well, due to this amber weather alert for snow that we've got in place here. And we've seen plenty of children out and about enjoying the snow, sledging as well. But while people have been having fun and making the most of it, it has caused a lot of travel chaos today. The A171 is currently closed. North Yorkshire Police have advised people not to travel to the areas of Malton, Filey or Scarborough and Whitby unless completely necessary because of those road closures that are in place. The snow does look like it's melting here. With the sun is coming out, so travel conditions a little bit better, but if you're not on those main roads that haven't been gritted, it might cause you a little bit of trouble, so do prepare before you travel is the advice that is being given. Now, this amber alert is going on until 9 o'clock at night for parts of North Yorkshire and the Yorkshire Wolds as well in East Yorkshire, and then tomorrow there's a new weather alert that's been put in place, a yellow weather alert. And of course, also today across other parts of the UK, there's that yellow weather alert in place as well for snow and ice. So check before you travel is the advice. There's also a health alert as well that's been put out by the UK Health and Security Agency, an amber and a yellow weather alert. That's warning that there's areas pressure on the NHS, check on vulnerable people. But if you can, enjoy yourself in the snow. Our fantastic cameraman, John Clark, he's a good sport. Let's see if I can lob a snowball at him.
Go for it, Anna.
Got him! And another
amazing stuff. You know, I'm slightly flinching when I'm seeing these snowballs flying at
Throw them
us.
that far, Tom, don't worry.
Anna Riley, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, John, as well.
Absolutely. Great sport.
OK, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show.
So just a few miles down the road from that first stop, we now have what potentially could be the target vehicle and the man we want, the international cocaine smuggler.
Yes, speaking of snow, GB News exclusive, Ben Leo joins the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Team, ICE, for a raid in Florida. But after the break...
Yes, SAS soldiers threaten the government with legal action over the new Troubles Bill. They don't buy Labour's claims that veterans will be protected.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
I did my...
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. It's coming up to 2:30, and this is Good Afternoon Britain.
Now, veterans are up in arms, with SAS representatives warning that the Labour government's new Troubles Bill could drag elderly former soldiers back into court.
They say the plan strips away vital safeguards and opens the door to endless legal battles, and now they're gearing up for a full-scale legal fight.
Well, delighted to be joined now by a retired SAS commander, Aldwyn Wright. Aldwyn, thanks indeed for joining us. This is a really significant moment, I suppose. What exactly is the government's law going to change?
Well, we don't know exactly because the government has a new bill and the new bill's gone through its sort of second reading. But looking at the bill, it appears, frankly, that the supposed protections are pretty weak. In fact, they're just about what one would expect if you were a normal individual going to court, county court or whatever. And therefore, I think after all this time, really the only thing open to us to actually is challenge the government about it. Last Tuesday just passed, we had a discussion with the Minister of Armed Forces, and we pointed out to them we thought these protections actually were pretty weak, hardly existed. And his reply was that, yes, he felt maybe they should be hardened up. And I think that's a genuine thing. And actually, he sought legal advice on it. And he said if we had any ideas, that would be a good idea to put forward. But he did make clear that actually the people who really are in control of the Northern Ireland office, and therefore that what we should do is address ourselves to the Northern Ireland office. And that's what we're doing. And it would be only sensible at this stage to get proper legal representation to look at it. And their agreement, too, is that, frankly, the protections as stated don't offer any protection. I think as a line, what we much prefer is that we actually, as it were, as a government, as all parties involved, just called it a day and drew a line under it for everybody. That would lead to some reconciliation.
That was going to be the plan of the Conservative government. That was their Legacy Act, which Labour have withdrawn from. And obviously last month we saw a former paratrooper in his 70s dragged before the courts, which must have been incredibly stressful. This means that we could see more of that. And obviously, Aldwyn, we've already seen that many terrorists have been long ago handed comfort letters, as they were called, guaranteeing them immunity from prosecution. This must be incredibly demoralising for those who did serve.
Well, it's just a sort of one-sided attempt, frankly, at closing it. And that is particularly annoying because it breaks the trust, really, between the government and the military. If you have been, as it were, asked to do your task, which you have done, completed, And one must actually point out that ourselves, but a group of people did actually quash what was an insurrection against the government and put it in the terms it should be pointed out as it's a violent insurrection. And then as a thank you, as it were, you suffer endless litigation, but the terrorists are all given a free ride. The logic is insane.
Yeah. You'd expect in a situation like this, those who are following the law and acting on behalf of a state would be the ones that are protected. But instead, it's those who are bombing innocent civilians who are seemingly getting the protections. Absolutely extraordinary. But Alderman Wright, thanks indeed for talking us through this issue. We should say that the government has issued a statement.
Yes, after the false promises of the last government, we are putting in place 6 real workable protections for veterans that the failed Legacy Act never did. We will not allow the process, like so many times before, to become the punishment for our veterans. These robust safeguards would ensure the rights of those who served their nation so honourably are protected, whilst providing victims with a human rights, compliant, fair and transparent system to seek answers.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more still to come.
Yes, Diana Rama, a shocking new book, claims Princess Diana's 1995 Panorama interview sent her life on a terribly dangerous course. We'll speak to the author about that.
Well, all of that and indeed more to come after your latest headlines.
Very good afternoon to you, 2:35. The top story, the Home Secretary has unveiled one of the most sweeping rewrites of the UK's migration rules in decades. Shabana Mahmood says there'll be tougher checks and longer waits for permanent settlement, affecting almost 2 million people. The COVID inquiry delivers its long-awaited verdict this afternoon, examining lockdown timing, government messaging and whether vulnerable groups were protected. More than 160 witnesses, including Boris Johnson, have given evidence. Former Met officer David Carrick has been jailed for life again, this time 30 years minimum, for abusing a 12-year-old girl and raping a partner. Already serving dozens of sentences for 71 previous offences, he was branded a manipulative predator who hid behind his warrant card. Detectives say acting on his 1990 confession could have protected many more women. US military officials are holding talks in Ukraine amid reports of a proposal for Kyiv to give up its territory and limit military in exchange for security guarantees. Washington, though, hasn't confirmed the plans, and Kyiv says any concessions would be unacceptable. Those are the headlines. Tatiana Sanchez will be here with a full roundup with the news at 3.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thanks very much, Sam. Now lots more still to come.
So just a few miles down the road from that first stop, we now have what potentially could be the target vehicle and the man we want, the international cocaine smuggler.
Yes, in a GB News exclusive, Ben Leo joins the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement team for a raid in Florida.
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is a cold day for all of us today with Arctic winds across the country, bright skies for most, but for some further wintry scenes. We've seen snow affecting parts of northeast England, northern Scotland and some locations in Pembrokeshire even. And we'll continue to see showers move in during the rest of Thursday across parts of Northern Ireland, northern Scotland, eastern Scotland into northeast and eastern England, as well as the southwest. Those showers around coasts falling as rain and sleet, but inland and over higher ground, further snow to come. The showers tending to ease off later. In between, some bright skies, some decent sunshine, although continuing to feel cold with that Arctic wind. And overnight, the main issue will be icy patches because we'll have further showers coming in to northern Scotland, for example, giving some slippery surfaces and further snow accumulations over hills. Those showers easing off a little for Northern Ireland, but still some around to cause some icy issues first thing Friday. Likewise for West Wales into Cornwall, but for much of the rest of Wales and the southwest of England, as well as a broad central part of the UK, it's simply a clear and in places frosty night, although there'll be an increase in cloud cover across the east of England, mitigating against hard frost here. But those showers will continue across parts of eastern England, and again, likewise here, we're going to see some icy patches first thing Friday. So yeah, slippery surfaces first thing, frosty, temperatures below -10 Celsius, where we've got snow cover across parts of Highland Scotland. And that cold feel continues through the day, but one difference is that the showers will have mostly gone. Plenty of sunshine out and about. Some rain moving into the northwest of Scotland, marking a change to milder and wetter for the weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A92 Crossgates off Slip is restricted southbound due to a breakdown. The A5 is closed both ways between Carrog and Glyndifudwy due to an incident. On the M58 westbound, traffic is disrupted between the M6 and Junction 5 following a vehicle fire, with 2 of 3 lanes closed. The M5 northbound exit at Junction 4 in Worcestershire has a lane closed due to a breakdown. Avanti West Coast reports major disruptions at Glasgow Central and between Lancaster and Oxenholme Lake District. Northern services face disruptions on various routes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 20 to 3, and lots of you have been getting in touch, including Maxine, who, referring to our last story on those legacy bill issues, said, could you imagine Winston Churchill allowing German complaints to be brought to court?
Yeah.
I thought not.
Yeah, no, indeed. And lots of you are getting in touch about the weather as well, because we're British. We do talk about the weather a lot. And Jeff has got in touch about the fact that we're making poor Anna Riley stand in the middle of a snowy street. And Jeff said, good for Anna. She should have a snowball for those who put it out in the cold. Well, I did get the impression she was kind of aiming at Tom, but it's a bit of a throw.
And you.
To be fine.
And, of course, cameraman John.
Yeah, exactly.
But, of course, it's a delight to read all of your comments, and there is a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News for free. Take a look.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on your say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
You could be friends with Tom and I.
Don't put them off, Tom.
Sorry.
Now, GB News has been granted exclusive access inside America's war on illegal immigration. Yes, our very own Ben Leo joined US immigration officers on a dawn raid in Florida. Take a look.
It's 4 in the morning here in southwest Florida. Behind me now, the guys from ICE and the local sheriff's department here in Hendry County are getting ready for this raid.
All right, good morning, everybody. Today we're going after a Guatemalan national. His name is Alicio Tutchuk. He's wanted in El Salvador for drug trafficking. The guy has been expelled twice from the United States under Title 42. Be safe out there. We already have a vehicle on site. He's going to call out the radio, or call on the radio whenever he sees anything.
Thank you for allowing us with you. It's, what, 4 in the morning now in southwest Florida. Just tell us where we're going.
Our plan is we have some intel on him. We've done some investigation on him. Our plan is to try to locate him, bring him into custody, remove him from our country, and send him back to his authorities.
So that's his house across the road?
Correct.
And you're waiting for him to come out. Are you going to hit him when he gets in his car? Or?
Yeah, we'll wait for him to come out.
So with the 94 Street, just like a 5 vehicles, they're outside the wall.
There's units down the road, Alvin?
Yes, sir.
Jogging quick, that vehicle you're following is not it. It's turning left at that stoplight you were at. We're behind it right now.
So we've just pulled over the car on the roadside. He just left his house down there, maybe a mile or two down the road. ICE agents surrounding the car with their vehicles. They're asking him to roll down the window and present his details.
Or we can get this done easy and quick. Right now you're making it complicated.
These guys are Americans. They're going to be released. The concern is the other guys who are confirmed illegals. The main guy, though, that they're after, the Guatemalan guy, doesn't appear to be here right now, but there are other teams down the road still active on his case. This very operation this morning just proves the danger that ICE agents put themselves in. It's foggy here on the side of the road. Very, very dangerous indeed. It takes one vehicle to crash into the back of these cars here for something very tragic to happen. So these guys are putting their health, their safety, their lives on the line each and every day to tackle this illegal migration problem.
Correct. We still have eyes on another vehicle, possible with the target. The target is possibly in there, so we're headed to that location.
So just a few miles down the road from that first stop, we now have what potentially could be the target vehicle and the man we want, the international cocaine smuggler.
Second stop, and the attempt to find Tango. Unfortunately, Tango is not here. We found several of his family members, same last name, but ultimately we weren't able to find Tango today. But we'll continue our pursuit of Tango. If they have any crimes here in the U.S.
So that guy there shouting out his van saying, "Leave the man alone, leave the man alone."
That's their ignorance. A lot of times they don't want to know. They just pick a side and without any type of information.
We're going to head now to a third address and see if he's there. So the third and the final hit of the day, another arrest, and we have the cooperation of the local sheriff here, the Hendry County Sheriff, all thanks to the 287G legislation, which allows multi-agency cooperation to ensure that illegal migrants are rounded up, detained and deported. So Alvin, we've been basically doxed on the roadside. This is what you guys face every day. Cars driving past, people filming on the roadside.
Correct. Every day, we have civilians doing counterintelligence on us, letting the public and the illegals know where we are.
It's captioned "filming their horrors."
Yeah.
That's what you deal with every day. Every day.
We're trying to do our jobs, try to, make the public safe, and this is what we do.
And that's why they wear masks.
That's the primary reason we wear masks. We're identified every day, and then people are supposed to go after our families, our homes, the officers. So we don't do it by choice, we do it by necessity.
We didn't get the cocaine smuggler we're after. You're still working on that, but you've got 8 migrants, aliens arrested.
Correct.
Successful morning?
Successful morning, and the day continues.
I think it sounds like we need something like this in the UK.
Definitely. I think you can.
Well, interesting stuff, and you can get more of it from Ben and Bev on The Late Show Live tonight from midnight.
Indeed. This is Good Afternoon Britain. On GB News, there's lots more coming up on today's show.
Diana Rammer, yes, a shocking new book claims Princess Diana's 1995 Panorama interview sent her life on a terribly dangerous course. We'll speak to the author.
But if you are in search of some holiday sunshine, here is a forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, some drier weather for Portugal over the next few days. Rain will affect parts of the Canaries, in particular Tenerife through Friday. Highs of 19 degrees with overcast skies. Lisbon looking nice and dry, just 10 degrees though, so still fairly chilly. Now the remnants of Storm Claudia moving into the Mediterranean, bringing some persistent wet weather through Friday and into the weekend as well. But if we look to Tenerife, it is looking much drier and brighter by Monday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. Britain has just gone 10-3 on exactly 30 years since the day that the explosive Diana Panorama interview aired. Well, a new book has been released exploring how Martin Bashir earned Diana's trust through deceitful behaviour.
Yes, written by author and former BBC TV reporter Andy Webb, and sets out a decades-long campaign to uncover the truth.
Well, joining us now is the author of Diana Rama, Andy Webb. Andy, thanks for coming in. Firstly, what made you write this book?
Well, a lot of things, but to keep it short, I just felt that the story, the true story, had not come out. That's important. Also very important is the effect, the impact it has clearly still on Diana's family, Diana's brother, Charles Spencer, and indeed her son, Prince William. They want to know what really happened.
Do you think without this Panorama interview that Diana wouldn't have died in that car crash?
That, who can say for sure? But it is perfectly plausible to say that her life would not have followed the course it did if, importantly, of course, the interview was a disgrace, what Martin Bashir did. But importantly, if BBC bosses, maybe 6 months after the interview went out, had actually done what they should have done. And I think it's important to remember that, of course, Prince William himself came out on television. We all saw it. And he said there, it's not, to paraphrase his words, it's not just a rogue reporter, Martin Bashir. It was bosses at the BBC who looked the other way. And I say to myself, did we actually listen well enough when we heard Prince William say that.
Just extraordinary how that one interview could have sent her life careering in a very destabilising direction with all the consequences that had. Andy Webb, thanks so much for coming in and talking through your brand new book.
Now, GB News reached out to the BBC for a response. A spokesperson said the BBC appointed Lord Dyson to investigate how Martin Bashir obtained the 1995 Panorama interview of Diana, Princess of Wales. The Dyson report was published in 2021. The BBC accepted all its findings in full and publicly apologised for its part in the report's conclusions.
Well, thank you indeed for watching Good Afternoon Britain with us all of today. We're back tomorrow from midday, of course, but sticking here on the channel, Martin Daubney's up next after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is a cold day for all of us today with Arctic winds across the country, bright skies for most, but for some, further wintry scenes. We've seen snow affecting parts of northeast England, northern Scotland and some locations in Pembrokeshire even. And we'll continue to see showers move in during the rest of Thursday across parts of Northern Ireland, northern Scotland, eastern Scotland into northeast and eastern England, as well as the southwest. Those showers around coasts falling as rain and sleet, but inland and over higher ground, further snow to come. The showers tending to ease off later. In between, some bright skies, some decent sunshine, although continuing to feel cold with that Arctic wind. And overnight, the main issue will be icy patches because we'll have further showers coming in to northern Scotland, for example, giving some slippery surfaces and further snow accumulations over hills. Those showers easing off a little for Northern Ireland, but still some around to cause some icy issues first thing Friday. Likewise for West Wales into Cornwall, but for much of the rest of Wales and the southwest of England, as well as a broad central part of the UK, it's simply a clear and in places frosty night, although there'll be an increase in cloud cover across the east of England, mitigating against hard frost here. But those showers will continue across parts of eastern England, and again, likewise here, we're going to see some icy patches first thing Friday. So yeah, slippery surfaces first thing, frosty, temperatures below -10 Celsius, where we've got snow cover across parts of Highland Scotland. And that cold feel continues through the day, but the one difference is that the showers will have mostly gone. Plenty of sunshine out and about. Some rain moving into the northwest of Scotland, marking a change to milder and wetter for the weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
There's a lot of tables out there that won't just have turkey on it. There'll be turkey and ham, and I know some people that will cook 3 or 4 different meats. And obviously the joy of having turkey is that you can then make a turkey curry for Boxing Day and the subsequent days. So, you know, you should be having days of curry after your turkey lunch. I think for the masses, it's still hugely popular. You know, through the festive period at the Dog, we will have hundreds of people having Christmas parties, and most of them will order our turkey lunch or dinner. And then Christmas Day, we could sell it probably 3 or 4 times. The demand for people to go out for the traditional turkey roast is still massive. But hey, look, if you don't like a roast lunch, then why force yourself to have it on the, you know, probably one of the most important meals of the day in terms of bringing family together.
What about Sophie's point, Mark, about cost and spending £30, £40 on turkey? That is simply too expensive for lots of people.
Yeah, I'll never be able to defend or debate that. You know, I know more than anyone the challenges around food inflation, and a good turkey has become a huge cost. But I still think where people can afford the tradition, the joy of coming together, sharing a big turkey roast meal it's a brilliant Christmas tradition. But yeah, the food inflation, that's something we've talked about a number of times, isn't it? You know, it's crippling our business and it's crippling people at homes. I suppose the key thing to look at is if you know what you're doing with it, the turkey, a good turkey will feed the family for many days. It's not just one meal.
GB News, the People's Channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airwaves before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel